Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you.
Are you tired of overpaying for TV services? Can't figure out VPNs? Constantly missing your favorite TV shows? And no access to the good stuff on streaming services? The frustration is real, but it doesn't have to be. Contact Roke, Cayman Streaming Pros. We'll put you back in the driver's seat in front of your TV. Call, WhatsApp, or message Roke today on 926-1213. Roke is not a TV service provider. Terms and conditions apply.
In the mornings, no one wants to miss listening to the Cold Hard Truth or reading CMR. Cayman's #1 news platform has made your morning commute fun again. Pass this time with the Cold Hard Truth on weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Talk radio that's engaging, entertaining, and enlightening. But be careful. Some mornings it's so hot, you might run into a bit of trouble.
Good morning, K-Man. How's everybody doing this beautiful Tuesday morning? Hope you guys are well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Tuesday. Got lots to talk about again today. Thank you. Appreciate the love and support that you guys always show. I'm just going to get the Instagram feed started here. And then we will definitely be in our way. And I'll send out the links to everyone as well. So hold tight. Hold tight, honey child. I see and hear your comments about yesterday's show. My goodness. You guys are like, oh, Sandy, I need to go back and rewatch that one. That got hot. We'll talk about it because I got more coming for you. Ay. What a ting. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. There's more to come. Beautiful. All right, let me have a quick look here. There's so much that is happening around the world. And I'll be quite honest with you, I haven't had a chance to delve into some of those things. And we will, because despite what some of you think and believe about the world around us, that, oh, what the U.S. does is none of our business. I wish that was true. But, as they say, the U.S. sneezes and we catch a cold. No truer words, quite frankly, have been spoken. And so we should care a lot about what's happening in the United States of America. It's a hot mess there now. And there's just so much that is going on. And it has a serious trickle-down effect, I think, on the rest of the world in a very, very real way. And, there are things like the inclusion, that it's DEI. When people with all sorts of special needs and issues were making significant headway, to now hear those persons, feel so incredibly uncomfortable because of the fact that a lot of workplaces, now that it's not mandatory, have removed inclusion from their, from their mandates, from their manuals, from their company policies, and all this stuff. It is really, really shocking. And for me, what's even more shocking is the people who have such a limited view of what inclusion is. So, if you don't think, Black people should have any, what you might consider special rights when they have systematically been held back for umpteenth years, you're okay with thinking that that is an excuse to put everyone on a quote level playing field. And the truth of the matter is, there has never been a level playing field. So I almost want to chuckle when people say that, because that means that they don't know anything about American history. And, it's sad, but it's not just them. It is so many other people that will now be marginalized because of this. And the world is watching America. And I feel like countries that have maybe felt some degree of pressure in the past, including the Caribbean, to, be inclusive, now that they no longer feel that pressure, and in fact, it's quite the opposite, there's no need or desire to do anything about that. Somebody shared a very, very interesting post. I'm trying to remember if I saved it. And it said that, if you are going to stand against these things, you should at least know what DEE stands for. If you posted that, resend that to me, because I'd like to, at some point, read that post and share that with people. They said that you should at least have the decency to be able to know what that stands for and understand precisely what it is that you are supporting. It's amazing when people think, oh, I just don't want, it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, by the way. And it's interesting when people think, I don't want to, I don't know, have, what would you call it? Like gay people have any rights, right? And you think that that's what DEE is all about. It means that you really have zero true understanding of everything that's going to be impacted. Just this morning, Google Calendar has announced that it's removing cultural heritage celebrations from its calendar's default settings. Can you imagine? Cultural heritage celebrations from its default setting. All of this is a trickle down from MAGA and that leadership and what they stand for. It is disturbing at so many levels. And I think that, the world is in for a very, very tumultuous 4 years. And I hate to say this because I don't want to put any negativity out in the atmosphere, but I can tell you it's already out there. I think that you guys can expect that during this 4-year tenure, security in the US is going to be something that Trump should pay extremely close attention to, because he's putting his own people at risk. It's shocking that he can't even see that, because all sorts of communities are being marginalized. I saw something about the Palestinians over the weekend. There are some who actually, voted for, what do you call it? Trump. They're Palestinian Americans. And now they're quite upset that they did, because they're saying, oh my God, we didn't realize this guy was going to go in there talking about he's going to take over the Gaza Strip and what he's going to do and da-da-da-da. It's just like, oh my God, it is really, really shocking. The headlines, for example, Washington Post this morning talks about they trained on diversity under Trump. Now he's punishing them for it. So they're talking about the education department held diversity training, and many who participated were put on administrative leave under the new laws. It's a level of madness, I think, that just, I don't understand it. It has every single day, there's something else that is happening with this administration. It's almost like he's trying to outdo himself from one day to the next. And so we can't cover it all, Unfortunately, we don't have that much energy, time, and resources to cover every crazy thing that this man does. What I will say, however, is that, quite frankly, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. There's so many days, but we can't keep up with it all. So I think the most that we can do is kind of some of the critical things, just keep you guys abreast of those. And you're going to have to watch, the rest of the world news to see what else is going on. Just yesterday, there was a slew of individuals who went in and spoke to a local news company or an American news company, and they were all undocumented workers. I think there was at least 19 or 20 of them, or maybe a little bit more. They were all undocumented workers, and they all at some point worked for Trump and the Trump administration. I don't know. I mean, the world just feels so crazy right now. It's like you don't even want to be part of it. Like I see people, one of her Caymanians, has the LGBTQ flag up and it says banned. And they said, oh, about damn time these companies start to come to their senses, because, they're no longer going to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. But that person is so ignorant. And I saw, thank God, only one other Caymanian even liked the post. But I know there's so many of you who feel this way and who agree with these types of things. And it is very, very unfortunate that people feel this way, because, you know what that really means for people. Well, go and have a look at what DEI programs really meant for Americans all over the world. Let me just show you some of what was included so that you can have a much more sensible approach. So DEI includes ramps and sidewalk curb cuts, subtitle and captions for TV and phones. So those are people who are like sight impaired and stuff, right? Family restrooms, changing tables in the men's restrooms, breastfeeding and pumping stations and accommodations, floating paid holidays, pay equity and transparency, parental leave, time and pay, coming back to job after birthing a child, not having to just accept workplace harassment, work accommodations for a variety of disabilities, flexible work arrangements, size inclusive chairs and beds in medical facilities, belt extenders on planes. And these are only some of the things. This was the one I was thinking about earlier. If you oppose DEI, you should at least have to use the full phrase instead of the letters. Be brave and say, I oppose diversity, equity, and inclusion. Bonus points if you admit which part of it you don't like. Making it an acronym transforms it into a thought-terminating cliche. From now on, be proud of your opinions. Be specific. Let everyone know if it's diversity you don't like, or if it's equity, or if it's being inclusive. And there are special needs communities who, even on this island, struggle with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so when you have people around you who are supporting, tearing those basic principles apart, I think that it's a sad day, not just for America, but around the world. And it's interesting when people say, why is CMR covering this? Why don't you pay attention to what's happening in your own country? Trust me, our very interest rates are tied in to what happens in the US. So we care about what happens in the United States of America, okay? It has a direct impact on us in so many different ways. Somebody else yesterday, I was sharing with them that they had indicated that a lot of people from, I think it was Venezuela, said that, oh, they voted for Trump. Venezuelans back Trump. Now worry he'll deport them. I'm just thinking, how did you all not see this? Right? Here's a guy who fled Venezuela for the United States during President Trump's first administration, convinced that Trump would protect people like him who'd been targeted by an autocratic regime. Today, now he's saying that the university professor is worried that the Trump administration is going to deport him. The Department of Homeland Security has canceled the temporary protective status given to thousands of Venezuelans who had arrived in recent years. These were not illegal migrant workers. These are people who came under this specific protection. So now this professor, this university professor's permission to work in the US is set to expire in April, and his shield from deportation in September. He said, today, I feel the same way I felt in Venezuela, that they're going to come, take me somewhere I won't be able to escape from. Tearing up as he described his family's ordeal. It's terrible to feel this way here in the United States of America. He paused for a moment to compose himself and said, I thought we would be safe here. Venezuelans in the Miami suburb of Doral have been some of Trump's biggest proponents. Even if many could not vote, they attended rallies, decorated their front lawns with Trump flags, and took to social media to support the man they thought would prioritize removing Nicolas Maduro from power. And of course, now they're getting a reality check. And they say now for many Venezuelans, Trump's decision feels like betrayal. This guy said the Venezuelan community gave President Trump their support, said John de la Vega, a Venezuelan-American immigration lawyer, an Army veteran. This is completely different of what I thought it was going to be. And so you can check out that article in the Washington Post. But it's like article after article after article like this, people's lives being completely upended. And it is shocking, So let us continue to, big shout out, by the way, I see that Melanie Hulse posted February the 5th that she was so proud to be a member of PwC's DEI Council. So apparently they have a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. So that's good because you don't find very many Caymanian companies having that. So that's amazing to have. And, we continue to watch the madness every single day. So there you go. I don't really know what else to say. And it just gives people an excuse who want to hate on very specific things that they think, right, DEA protects, and largely it's marginalized communities. So, wow. Not able to see the big picture, really. Yeah. So, I mean, the misinformation and propaganda and all that stuff is just so incredibly shocking. Really and truly. All right. We're trying to make waves here and some future advancements for ourselves as people in the Cayman Islands. Sexual harassment legislation finally being passed. And I'm glad to see that. We'll see how effective that will be, like in real terms, in the real world, if you will. And, it's something that has long been overdue. And I want to thank organizations like the Business and Women's Professional Club. I think I might have the name. The Business and Professional Women's Club organization, is that what they are? Anyway, they have done an amazing job to really fight for this legislative change, to at least have it codified. We have a long, long ways to go, folks, in terms of changing the mindset of people, particularly when we have legislators who are every single day engaging in behavior that demonstrates that they don't even know what sexual harassment is. And this is why those of you who watched yesterday's show towards the end, we got a little bit, we had a moment and it was all good. But this is precisely why it is important for us to talk on these issues. And I make no apologies for that. And quite honestly, I make no apologies for calling out members of Parliament who have a long and sustained history of stories about their behavior, both in the workplace and outside of the workplace, and sadly, for some of them, even as it relates to children. Right? You guys heard me yesterday. And I saw some of your comments and some of you messaged me, oh man, Sandy, you really went off yesterday. As y'all could see, I was cool as a cucumber. And I was answering a question from, what was her name again? Carrie Scott or something. I don't know who Carrie Scott is, and I don't need to know. And Salvin, I appreciate your questions, because you know what? Your questions give me an opportunity to address maybe even some of the rhetoric that is out there and the foolishness that people put out there, because, it's so interesting. I have this amazing platform that is informative. We can have frank and open discussions. I have my opinion, you have your opinions. It's all about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? There are very few people that have been excluded from this, and they've been excluded because, their singular mind, they can only talk about one thing all the time, or they have been disrespectful in particular to a guest, And so the sad thing, quite frankly, about that is, what people try to do is they try to pit me, especially now that we're in political silly season, they try to pit me against particular groups, or, oh, she's pro this one or she's pro that one. Everybody at some point, I undoubtedly will feel the wrath of who I am and, what I stand for in one shape or another. And so there is no free ride. There is no, you're going to get a pass because I like you, whether I like you or not. Doesn't mean that you don't adhere to certain basic standards that we, as the electorate in this country, should be holding our elected officials to. And I keep saying that the bar is too low. We need to raise the bar. And so I welcome those questions. When you guys, oh, well, you're against this one or you're for this one. I want to make sure that I explain things to you. And there's some things that I have opted not to say. Like, I think she was saying yesterday something about, oh, I'm refusing to work with Dan Scott's group, or they don't want to come on my show for particular reasons. And I can assure you that you clearly don't have a clue what it is that you're talking about. Those individuals have every opportunity to come on the show. As I've indicated, it's a pay to play format right now, so they got to pay. There's no invite. There's no free invite for anybody, including TCCP or anybody else. When you see them showing up on the show, honey child, they're paying for the privilege of being in our presence, right? We're the voters now, so this is how it's going to work during this time. Many of them had opportunities before, not costing them a single dime, and they were not taking advantage of it. That's their fault. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Now, the rules have changed, and they know precisely what the rules of engagement are, and they have received, all of the relevant information. I don't think I've ever said, I don't even really know Dan Scott to any significant extent. And I don't think I've ever said anything about him that should give people any sort of feeling that I don't like him or that I do like him or anything of the sort, quite frankly. I mean, I'm of the opinion that probably anything would be better than Julianne O'Connor Conley, for starters. Is he likely to form a government? I don't think so. And that's just me being 1,000% honest. He's going to sit on the back bench with anybody else in his group that gets elected. And that's good, because that's how you learn the ropes. Nobody should go in there and take on a leadership position immediately. I know last time was unusual in that sense, and that they had a few, that were taken on ministerial positions in their first term. I have maintained, and I will continue to maintain, that is not a brilliant idea. Like any job, there is a learning curve on the job, and you should take the opportunity, your first tenure in office, to learn the ropes. This isn't running a corporate organization. When you get into government, government is very, very different. And a lot of those people will tell you, a lot of the ministers from PAC will tell you that they struggled with understanding how limited their powers are as elected officials versus what the civil service actually does. And that's a lesson in and of itself. And a lot of them still don't get the lesson fully, So they have the opportunity to come on. I must tell you, when people are hesitant to come on a talk show because they're looking for an easy ride, I do theoretically and practically have a problem with that. That goes against the grain of what we expect of our candidates. And that's simple. And I will say that and share that with anybody. Yesterday, some of you were saying, where's Emily DeCou? And I have the same question. She's a what's it called? TCCP, all these acronyms, girl. TCCP member. And I have the exact same question. Where is she? Because she is the ones that they've announced so far that we probably know the least about. So we want to hear from her. And hopefully they're coming on tomorrow. So hopefully she's one of those people that comes on tomorrow. Get out there. It's sink or swim. So, don't think that anybody gets a free pass around here from constructive criticism. And if you're up in your feelings and you're running for public office and you're up in your feelings, or you're already an elected official, and we're going to talk about some of them here this morning, and you're up in your feelings about, people critiquing, criticizing you, let me suggest that you're probably in the wrong profession. So thank you to Carrie Scott and Salvin for the questions that they asked yesterday, which were fair questions in my opinion, and it allowed me to delve into a bit more detail. You see, Salvin, I did say to you that you're kind of a Johnny come lately. Don't take that as an insult. Sometimes I use these terminologies. They may sound like they're not entirely politically correct, I suppose, but don't get insulted by it. What I mean by that is, you are new-ish even to the progressives. You weren't there in 2003 when we were putting the progressives together, and I spent countless hours with progressive members. You don't know how Alden got his start in politics. You weren't sitting down for countless hours at the Domino's table with Alden, Kurt Tibbetts, and others. You don't know how they treat women, right? You don't know anything about the historical relationship with Barbara and these guys, with the twins and these guys. All right? So you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your facts. And as someone who was there on the ground, I can tell you that without a doubt, I have a lot of facts that I bring to the table. And people will try to discredit me. They try because, they want to throw all this nonsense. Well, she don't like them because they're no longer a PAC. No, I have no time for Chris Saunders for very legitimate reasons. And if you have any questions in your mind now about why, please go back to yesterday's show and you can see the 3 primary reasons that I listed. And under a much bigger umbrella than that is the man is a narcissist, and he is not good for the people of the Cayman Islands. He has not demonstrated through his behavior that he cares about the things that matter. I was speaking to someone after the show. I'm not going to say who this is. Person's a civil servant. And I said to them, the interesting thing about Chris, it's not for lack of intellectual capability, but when you're morally bankrupt, how smart you are means absolutely nothing. It has no bearing because your moral issues will overcast your intellectual capacity, your ability to go in there and focus on the job. And that is precisely what we saw happen with him. So I make no apologies. I hear that he was in cabinet making not so subtle threats. Now, I don't know if he was directing it at me or who he was directing at. I think we have a clip of that video. We're going to talk about it this morning. But let me tell you something. Even the fact that he thinks that he can get in parliament and do that is beyond disturbing. To make threats about, if anything happened to his mama, what he had come and do to people. Really? You're the reason why, if your mother is suffering any stress, tell her not to watch The Cold Hard Truth because she can't handle this. If you got a weak heart, this is not a show for you, honey child. Go watch somebody else. But I can tell you that you're the reason why your mother would be having any issues if that's what you're claiming. You think that because you believe she's ignorant, that she's going to live a happy life not knowing that her only son has some serious issues that he probably needs a good therapist for? I make no bones about it when I tell you that the civil servants that he was sexually harassing, and someone said to me, numerous civil servants, they use the term numerous, that he was sexually harassing, were so distraught that some of them had to be put on leave from their work because they were afraid of this man. And even to this day, they remain afraid of him if he gets back in power, the type of retribution that they will be facing. No one should have to go to work and feel that way and endure that type of thing. And I cannot in good conscience sit back and have access to this information and not share it with the good people of the Cayman Islands. This man is a pathological liar. I talked yesterday about how he's lied on various members of the civil servant, specifically in relation to LFTs. I mean, he lies on his political comrades all the time, but they're so stupid. Some of them are still kissing his royal behind, or so they believe, right? But I'm aware of all those political dealings. I'm not even getting into any of that right now. What I'm saying is, when it comes to the civil service, he has zero respect for them, and he's willing to throw them under the bus to try to save his own skin. Now, I've requested a document because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. I think it was, again, this Carrie Scott person who said, oh, you're gossiping and whatever. Let me tell you something. There are times we gossip, and I try to make it very clear when we're having a gossip segment. And there are numerous times, folks, when I'm speaking nothing but facts, okay? What you heard me speak yesterday are facts that can be backed up. For example, one way I'm seeking to back it up, and I have to see if government and the respective government agency will actually give me these documents, because a lot of things are in writing, they're not always in the public domain, but they're in the civil service. Now, this is one that I'm not sure is available under FOI, but we have requested it. And let me tell you guys what it is. There will be a determination today by the head of that agency whether we get it or not, because they said it's so sensitive. Remember when I was explaining to you guys what went down with the LFT situation yesterday? So this was Randy Marion's company, Blue Water, and how, Chris Saunders acted against another Caymanian because, oh, he's a white Caymanian. These white Caymanians getting too much. And he said that to me. That wasn't no hearsay. He said that to me. And I'm uncomfortable, right? When we want to divide ourselves along racial lines. I'm not living in the United States of America. I don't expect that here. I know the realities of it, and I know that there are times that it happens. But that's not who we are. And we should never be trying to have those types of conversations where we are part of the problem of division. Okay? I don't care what color Randy Marion is. I don't care what color, Ween Panton is. We have Woody, the Fosters, most of them are considered, white. I don't care. They're Caymanians. And people like Woody do an amazing job in this community. He is a business, owner, but they also give back in a lot of meaningful ways. And he's a person that I have a lot of time for. Right? So I'm not into that. You should never roll up on me and talk to me along the lines of what somebody's color is and, white people, this and that, and white Caymanians, and think that I'm going to be on board with your conversation. Now, if they have demonstrated a degree of division themselves and being prejudiced, and maybe they don't like people of color, because we got some Caymanians like that. I'm not denying that. In fact, a lot of them are people of color themselves, and they don't like themselves, obviously, because they need to look in the mirror. I don't have time for people like that. And I'll address them when it's necessary. But don't roll up on me trying to divide our little small country along the lines of color and saying, oh, somebody shouldn't get something just because of the color of their skin. Because the day that that's reversed and you say, oh, I shouldn't get it because I'm a person of color, or I shouldn't get it because I'm a Georgetowner, or I didn't come from the right side of the track, or I wasn't born with a spoon in my mouth. We're not about that life. So when you lead with that as the conversation, you and I are already not on a good footing. And the one observation that I've made with Chris is I don't know where this has come from, because Chris, as far as I know, was born in Cayman. He's a Caymanian, but he has identified with the parent that has the Jamaican roots. I do know he spent some time, I think, at an all-boys school or something in Jamaica, but he has come with this sort of militant perspective on these things where he wants to divide us amongst those lines, almost like I see Cameron talk about race baiting. It's almost to that extent, right? Or the white man this and the white man that. I'm like, yo, Bobo, back up on that. I have access to letter. I'm going to share it with you guys because, like I said, I come with receipts I don't come with misinformation and conjecture, all right? He actually wrote a letter to the former governor of the Cayman Islands. And in that letter, he had more than enough to say, as Caymanians would say. Let me see if I can just download it here. It's an email. So this is a copy of an email. And this has not been put in the public domain before. And so I'm going to do that just now, okay? So give me 1 second here, because y'all need to know the cold hard truth. And I hope Carrie Scott is listening this morning, and everybody else who, again, were confused about why I have specific issues with people. I'm going to tell you why. There's nothing, folks, that I have to hide. Trust me. Right? I feel a particular way about these people. Yes, honey child, with good reason. This goes back to January of 2023. You guys might remember this because I brought this up, and I said how he was in one of the cabinet meetings disrespecting the governor. And when I found out about it, I think it was a few weeks later, maybe, and I contacted the governor's office. The governor was so ashamed of what had transpired that he actually asked his office, because I sent them an email, he's asked his office to call me. And he called me on the phone, they connected the call, and he said to me, Miss Sandy, or whatever he called me, I can't remember, I've become aware that you have gotten a hold of this story. And I honestly don't even want this to be a thing. I would rather this just go away, because it was an embarrassing moment for the leadership of this country. And, I was just trying to fact check because I heard he cussed him out. And I'm like, really? You cussed out the governor? I said, what is this all about? And so I wanted to confirm. And he basically confirmed it. But he said he was so embarrassed because it was so like lowbrow kind of behavior. What you would expect of somebody out in the streets. If me and you fighting on the streets and I cuss you out, that's one thing. But if I go into a cabinet meeting, I'm supposed to be a representative of this country, the deputy premier of this country, and I don't know how to conduct myself in front of my colleagues, as well as, the governor of this country, that's a whole different situation. You behave yourself around certain people, I'm just saying, okay? He has no behavior. And so I have access to this very lengthy email. One thing with him, he sure loves to write, just like how he loves to chat. This is his response. Now, what kicked this off, folks? Let me put this in proper context here. What actually kicked this off was the fact that the governor had went to cabinet and basically made a statement about the gambling law in this country. And he was confused about why the leadership in this country were not taking the gambling legislation seriously, and why they were not amending it to be in line with, international standards and what would be expected. So he made a comment, and I'm going to summarize it, that essentially the police commissioner had said to him that they have intelligence and they have, information, that it is a very likely possibility that some of our elected members could be receiving the proceeds of criminal crime by way of gambling. Now, listen, he wasn't sitting there pointing a finger at any specific person. He wasn't saying, oh, yes, you, Chris Saunders, is morally bankrupt and corrupt, right? Which I'm going to say he's morally bankrupt at the very minimum. The governor wasn't saying that. He said the police commissioner, a law enforcement agency, has raised the question, right? Raised the possibility, the very likely possibility, that elected officials are receiving financial contributions from people who are not on the up and up. Do you all think that that is something that is unlikely to be true? Come on now. I mean, Caymanians talk. We know the real deal, right? A lot of you know who is involved in criminal activity in this country. And some of those people are elected officials. Now, I'm not going to say they're hardcore criminals, but some of them have reputations, drugs and other things, soliciting women, which is basically prostitution, in case y'all need a proper definition. Gamblers, yes, and the likes. So for the police commissioner to say, and this was the former police commissioner, by the way, he's no longer the police commissioner, but I'm sure Kurt Walton would say the same thing if he's being honest. For him to say that these guys are probably the recipients of gambling money, okay. Is that really a shocker? Is that really something for Chris Saunders to get his panties all in a bunch about? His briefs or whatever he wears? No, it isn't. But you see, he's trying to create this environment. And this lengthy email, I'm going to read to you some of it. It's very well written about quoting Bob Marley and all kind of foolishness. Because it's all about trying to pit us against the governor, or just because they're white. Just because, they're elitist, they're this, they're that. Mm-hmm. If they are, that's one thing. But you cannot paint everyone with the same brush. We know what the relationship is with mother country, the United Kingdom, okay? It is what it is. Pushing us towards independence is not the way to go. You think this country is a hot mess now? You make that happen with no oversight, no FFR, no nothing. Only then will there be a mass exodus from Cayman. Y'all can have all the land you want, because nobody, including yourselves, are going to want to be here. Because you're going to have morally bankrupt people like Chris Saunders steering good ship Cayman, and it's going to be beyond a hot mess. I'm not here to make y'all feel good. I'm here to tell you the truth and to give you my humble but fair opinion, okay? So when the governor mentioned this, he said, he doesn't understand why this is so difficult of an issue to deal with. Chris Saunders leads the troops and others followed him. John, Kenneth, and others followed his lead of ridiculousness. Oh, you're trying to call us criminals. You're saying that we're criminals. We're here for the people. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So they want you to believe. Here is what the governor said in response. He was quite taken aback by what transpired that day. I guess he don't really know these people. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh my God, look at the hoodlums that were elected to members of parliament. Let me break it down. The governor said, let me just scroll down. He wrote a lot. Let me tell you, this dude can write. The governor on January the 11th of 2023, Wednesday at 1:47 p.m. And again, this is the email chain right from Outlook. So don't ask me where I got it from. That's none of your business. But this is what the governor had to say in short. As a matter of fact, give me 1 second here. I want y'all to read along with me. This is participatory classroom now. So let me do a screen share where you can kind of see the document a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we can enlarge it now. All right. Okay, so the governor said, oh, sorry, wrong one. Oh, yeah. Hold on. I was still showing you the PDF. Hold on. Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. So the governor says, dear cabinet members, and you see all of them listed there. Okay, Bernie Bush. He even had the Solicitor General, France Manderson, Andre Ebanks, Sam Bolgen, Julianne O'Connor Connolly. This is from Martin Roper. Wayne Panton, Chris Saunders, Kenneth Bryan, Bernie Bush was cabinet member at the time, Sabrina Turner. I was shocked, perplexed, and saddened by comments made in cabinet yesterday. So that was a Tuesday, right? Cabinet meets on Tuesday. It is the highest decision-making body of our islands. We should all observe the highest standards, values, and ethics. I have a duty to uphold the rule of law and good governance. I accept that comments I made at the Government House Cabinet in December around perceptions I had heard about why illegal gambling legislation was not passed were uncomfortable. But to go from that to accusing me of racism and go home, the sooner the better. And you notice how he puts that in quotes, go home, the sooner the better, because that's what Chris Saunders said to the man, is frankly astounding and unacceptable. It is likely a breach of the ministerial code of conduct. Now, remember, they had no code of conduct before Wayne Panton went in there and insisted that his ministers have a code of conduct. That's one of the things that he does not get enough credit for. Because there was that code of conduct in place, he was able to demote, what's his name? Bernie Bush, when he was breaching the code of conduct, removed home security from him, home affairs, my apologies. He was able to outright have his own deputy governor, deputy premier, my apologies to the deputy governor, terminated and fired for his unacceptable behavior towards the female members of the civil service. So that ministerial code of conduct allowed some degree of internal accountability. Kudos. Let's continue reading. Morning, Miss Beulah. The way to dispel any such perceptions, he continues, if they are indeed unfounded, is for lawmakers to uphold their obligations for the rule of law and pass the legislation. I've not heard any overwhelming arguments for delay. Our law enforcement experts advise me action is necessary and needed now to protect our community. I ask cabinet colleagues to reconsider their positions and engage with the select committee process. We must work to ensure that cabinet can function effectively and that we carry out our roles with courtesy, dignity, and mutual respect. I've worked extremely hard for Cayman and its community over 4 years, not least during COVID. I know fair-minded people recognize this, and I will continue to do my utmost for the people of these islands until I depart at the end of March. So the incident in question took place in the December, and I think it was in the January that I myself started to hear about it. I could go back through my archives myself if need be and check and see when I emailed the governor's office to inquire about this incident. And I can tell you, he was very, very embarrassed. And he essentially asked me if I could to leave it out of the public domain because he did not think it reflected properly on the people of the Cayman Islands. So of course, you know, Chris Saunders' response to this that evening with this long diatribe quoting Bob Marley about emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And he goes on and on and on, questioning the governor's powers, because essentially the governor said if they didn't do it, he might have to resort to his Section 81 powers and basically do it himself, just as he did with the LGBT, question also, because this government and previous governments have refused to uphold their legal obligations when it comes to the rule of law. And they refuse to pass legislation that the UK is saying this is a priority. Okay? And to this day, nothing has still been done about this. Now, we're trying to push through this gambling. It's coming up on the referendum. This gambling question as well, whether or not you guys want to legalize gambling. So I guess this is their response to it. Instead of doing something about it, making it, because it's already illegal in this country, but taking it seriously from a legislative framework, what they want to do instead is have the Caymanian people go to the polls and vote in favor of it. So that's their solution for addressing it. And that is not going to have any impact on the illegal gambling. Whether you legalize gambling or not, in my opinion, is neither here nor there. Illegal gambling will always be attractive to people for a variety of different reasons. And that is what the enforcement agencies have an issue with. And they know the connection between Cayman, Jamaica, Honduras, and to a lesser extent, some other jurisdictions as it relates to unlawful and illegal gambling. And there are people in Cayman today who are multimillionaires. And the proceeds of that have come from illegal gambling. People talk about how they literally every single week taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars in illegal gambling money. They have people working for them in and out of the jurisdiction. It's like a whole little enterprise that they're running and that they're operating, right? And those people, some of them at the airport telling Cayman Airways staff, oh man, I didn't know my boss was traveling because, I'm supposed to be in Cayman selling numbers for him. They engage in all sorts of activities. And that money, it's a lot of money flowing. They can't just go to the bank. They can't just go to CNB, Butterfield, RBC, any legitimate bank, Scotia Bank, and say, oh, I'm gonna deposit hundreds of thousands of dollars into the bank account without them going, oh, what's your source of funds? So they have to wash the money. That then becomes money laundering. Hiding it under the mattress. They turn around and do things like give it to politicians for campaign funds. There's no doubt that that is happening. And if you don't think it's happening or you don't know that it's happening, you're living in some very idealistic world that isn't the Cayman Islands. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Sandy.
Morning, dear.
Just to add to this cashback thing, you have persons actually taking out work permit for persons just to come here to do those things.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
If these people in the Cayman Island are going to sit and vote for something like that, trust me, they don't even know the damage that is going to do to this country.
That it's already doing to this country. Yeah.
Telling me, they have persons sit all day, and that's what they do on a work permit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and it's very sad, trust me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, my
very
dear.
much.
You're welcome. And it's all sorts of other legal activity that they're going to get into as a result. We've had a man, by all accounts, a very well-respected man, because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And sadly was gambling. And, a lot of Caymanians don't see anything wrong with it. We've accepted it. It has become an ingrained part of our culture. But that retired prison officer lost his life because he was there buying numbers. Okay? It is fair to say that he would still be alive today if he was not there buying numbers. It is horrific. The people who are in the business are targeted by other criminals. These young guys, they want easy money too. But they're not willing to go and work for the easy money. They won't even set up a gambling enterprise, which is totally illegal. Instead, they're going to go and rob the gambler. And this is not the first time that a person who is the bag man, the money man, has been killed in an attempt to be robbed. Remember, there was the one in West Bay, not far from Domino's Pizza. I think he was a Dominican guy, if my memory serves me correctly. He was targeted and robbed and shot and killed as well, just because he was, what do they call these? Who is it? The bag man? What do they call him? The person who, they hold the cash. They're kind of at the top of the food chain when it comes to their gambling enterprise. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, honey child. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored beyond all measures.
Wonderful.
My darling, that caller that just come off, she had need a kaboom.
Oh.
She needs tons of kaboom.
Mm-hmm.
My darling, what she's saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
We have people in our communities, especially down in the Washington Boulevard area. We have ladies sit down all day long who are here on work permits selling numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? This is something that, no one should vote for, because at the end of the day, I saw where you had put up that $250 was added on to the funding for seniors. You child. Look at how many I witnessed or a senior by a gambling table, number selling table, purchasing numbers, and that's his only source of income.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? His only Sandy, they know it's happening. They know that the money is going on gambling. They know the money is going on alcohol. They know the money is going on weed, and they cares not. Is this what we want to continue with? Is this the kind of people that we want to continue having as leaders in this country? They who are aware, it's a different story if you don't know. But when you know, you personally know it's happening, and you are encouraging it and indulging in it, something wrong with your elevator. Don't lift up off the first floor. You understand?
Yeah.
But it is happening. It is happening. I've been trying to get the authorities out down in Washington Boulevard, and I'm so happy that we're seeing them being proactive now. They have been down in there, officers, 4 o'clock in the morning, and just about the community and arresting people. But it's a broad daytime, they need to go as well. Because in that way they're sitting down 24/7 selling numbers and not doing no other form of work. Look at the young man that lost his life in the barber shop on Eastern Avenue.
And like I said, he's not the only one. There was the other guy there in West Bay some years ago who lost his life in a similar manner where he was being targeted and robbed.
And you know what's so sad, Sandy? The previous commissioner was taken to all of these locations. You cannot go in a barber shop on Eastern Avenue with numbers not selling up inside of it. And we took that commissioner, but they say it's petty crime. But now they see and they understand petty crime evolves into big crime. Crime that causes death of people. You understand? They need to get more serious with it. They know who all of these number sellers are. They know the police knows all. And you look, the police themselves by in the numbers. And they will tell you that too.
Yeah. And let me thank you so much, caller, for your comments. You're welcome. Let me say this. Someone said police are more corrupt in gambling than elected members. That I will assure you from my own knowledge. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Chris wasn't wrong to call out the hypocrisy. Remember, tempura, don't trust the UK government. So let me be very, very clear here. This doesn't have anything to do with trusting the UK government. We should all be aware of what our relationship is with them, right? However, what the governor said in this instance and what the higher ups in the police force are saying in relation to gambling is true. And it includes members of their own ranks. But how do we hope to ever address this as a serious crime if we don't even have the legislation in place? It's a $25 fine for gambling. That's less than a lot of traffic tickets. So of course, even if you find a police officer who gambles and they pay that, what are you going to do? You're going to terminate them for that? It has not been elevated legislatively to the type of crime that it should be, given its tentacles and connections to so many other elements of unlawfulness in this community. And that is the problem, right? Fundamentally, what Chris was saying, which I have a problem with how he went about it. You don't curse out the governor just to be able to share your opinion, right? You don't, as somebody else just said, and this is very, very interesting. They said, hold on a second. Let me read this. They said, oh gosh, hold on. Somebody just said about the pig pen. Oh yeah. They said, when you throw a stone in a pig pen, the one that squeals is the one it hit. His actions to this matter seems a bit personal. And someone else says, yes, he buys numbers. Now, my gosh, I have never bought numbers in Cayman. I don't know where to begin, but I've had family members, uncles, all sorts of people buy numbers. I know that it's very, very prevalent. I know you guys sit there on Sunday and instead of paying attention to the good word of the Lord, y'all looking at each other and say, what number just paid? You know what number paid? Yeah, I had a dream last night, and I think 25, you can play today. Y'all are all up into the numbers business, right? I am well aware of how prevalent it is in this community, and it's going to be hard for some of you to understand that it is illegal because it's acceptable behavior. But there's a lot of things in this country historically that have been acceptable behavior that we need to stamp out. And so are there elected officials who are buying numbers? Yes, but this wasn't what triggered him, That's not what the governor was talking about. It wasn't, oh, you're going out there buying numbers and you have a chance to win a little bit of money. The allegation that he said that the police management brought to him is that some of these MPs, right, the political arm, are receiving the proceeds of that criminal activity. So someone can easily come and drop a little 25K in your hand for your campaign and for you to continue to do nothing about the gambling legislation. And that is how easy it is when you're flush with cash as the banker. Because like I said, you can't go to the bank and just deposit that money and think that that's going to be A-okay with the bank. You gotta launder it some way, shape, or form. And so now you're encouraging other illegal activity. And there's a whole trickle-down effect, and that's a problem. That is what triggered him. It wasn't the fact that the governor was saying, well, y'all up in here buying numbers too. So yeah, police officers are buying numbers. Nobody's giving them a blight or a pass. And they shouldn't be. And if the legislation was a little bit more firm, guess what? The police would be held accountable just like everybody else, and y'all would be in court and start to take it seriously. Good morning, caller. Hello.
Good morning. You
morning.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it. Good
Oh.
morning. Because
Morning,
I was
my
gonna
dear.
say, why do you think that the laws aren't changing? Why do you think they're not addressing it? Matter of fact, why do you think they're trying to legalize it? Like common sense will tell you either they're involved directly, like you said, by buying numbers, or they're benefiting some other way from it. Why wouldn't they address it? Common sense will tell you that. Same thing with the sexual harassment bill.
Yeah. Same thing with, and
Why did
this
they
is
take so long to address it?
Yeah, and this is a problem, right?
They're afraid of false allegations. No, you're afraid of the truth allegations.
Exactly. Kaboom. Thank you. Thank you so much, caller. And this is a problem. This is why we can't get so many legislative things passed in this country. That caller gave a perfect example of sexual harassment, because every single one of them, almost, I'm not gonna say every single one, almost, well, let me put it this way, a good number of them would fall under that legislation. They'd be caught. It's the same thing with protecting your children. How difficult is it for the leadership of this country to stand up? They spend countless hours sitting there arguing over nonsense, name calling each other and doing the most, right? And how many of them I can count on one hand have ever gotten up in this country and talk about the all important issue of domestic violence in our community, of protecting your children from sexual predators in this community? I can count on one hand. In the last, when did I come back to Cayman? 1996, how long I've been back now? Whatever umpteenth years that is. I can count on one hand the number of legislators that have ever addressed it. It's almost like they are afraid of the issue. Why? 29 years, almost 30 years, I have been back in Cayman now. And I can count on one hand of all the MPs we've had in the last 30 years. How many of them have ever addressed it? They claim that they're Christians. They're in church every 2 seconds, right? They claim they have families, they have daughters, they have sons who could all be victimized, and probably, given the numbers that we know here in Cayman, at some point or another have actually been victimized in their life, and they do not speak up about it. Why is that? Once again, it's hitting a little bit too close to home. In so many respects, we are a lawless society. And our MPs are part and parcel of the issue of the lawlessness that we face. I remember not too long ago, there was a discussion about let's increase the legal limit in terms of alcohol. I mean, look at the destruction that people are drinking and driving. It's costing people their lives. There are children in this community who are being left without fathers and mothers because somebody made the decision to get behind the wheel of a car intoxicated. Tourists are coming here, getting ran over right? Killed or nearly killed because someone is drinking and while being impaired, they decide to get behind the wheel of a car. So let's increase it so that we're catching more people. Do you know the fight that just that simple idea got within cabinet? These guys are sitting there, including Chris Saunders. Oh, well, you know, my constituents, they're not going to support this. You mean to say that what you're really saying is your constituents want to be able to drink alcohol in excess and they get behind the wheel of a car and potentially kill some innocent person on our roadways? And because they're not going to be supportive of that, you as a member of parliament and as deputy premier is not going to stand up and say, you know what? Regardless of how the constituents think on this issue, this is an important issue to save lives. And this is what I tell you is part of our problem. We have MPs that don't have any backbone. They get up and they tell you things that they think you want to hear. It sounds all good during election season, knowing full well they can never deliver on any of those things, just like John. John got up in the last election and told you guys no more work permits. That was the campaign that he ran. And look at him. What they say and the things that they do not align often. And that's a problem. Corsita, good morning. Says, so true, caller. They're getting the money and destroying it. And a hardworking person run in difficulties. And for some short time assists, they give you the runaround sometimes for months. Cameron says, that's the one we put on the grill, smoke them out. Krista says, many of us know that people in Cayman survive in numbers. Making a national lottery legal would reduce crime and give people an opportunity to have additional funds responsibly. Well, Krista, I need you to bring the evidence to the table of where you believe that has worked and what information do you have to support that. If you have a problem with gambling, it has nothing to do. I've never met a gambler, right, who is trying to survive on numbers. If you look at the numbers and you know anything about the world of gambling, you lose more money than you will ever make. The house wins. You don't win as a gambler. You know how much money, like people say, oh man, I just won $2,000 this weekend. And I sit and go, okay, how much money have you spent in the past year on gambling? $20,000, $25,000, $30,000? They're not surviving off no gambling. They're addicts. Let's just be clear. And you can be addicted to gambling, just like you can be addicted to alcohol. You can be addicted to sex. You can be addicted to smoking. There are lots of food. There are lots of things that people can be addicted to. And gambling is one of those things. So you say that as an example, and I welcome you to show me who is surviving on gambling, because knowing what we know about gambling in general, the house always wins in the long run. The gambler does not win. So let's think about that now, right? We have people, if you're looking for, why it's a good thing, what about the opposite end of it? We have people like the lady at Turtle Farm, stealing, God knows, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 at least from us, the people, the government coffers at Turtle Farm, in order to support her gambling habit. When the police went to raid her house, she had gambling books, dream books, slips all over the house. These people are like, oh my God, this woman is addicted to gambling. Instead of going buy a plate of food, she'd rather go buy numbers. That's not surviving on gambling. Gambling is not a job. It's an addiction. If it's that bad, it's an addiction. And you're wasting money. And in her case, she didn't have the money. So she was stealing it from Turtle Farm, allegedly, because she's not yet been convicted. So let's say allegedly. She was stealing it from Turtle Farm in order to support her gambling habit. Let me give you another example that you'll be all too familiar with, Krista. Look at the honorable and not so honorable McKeeva Bush. He has to keep running for political office because despite double dipping in his pension, the man claimed that he doesn't have any money, that he's broke, couldn't even pay for his own defense. And I say to myself, how is it possible that a man who's been a parliamentarian and had various ministerial positions, leader of government business, first premier of the Cayman Islands, all this kind of foolishness for 40 years. How can you be broke? You know, one of the reasons why that's entirely possible, of course, he go around telling people he got his money in Bermuda and Bahamas and other places. But one of the reasons it's entirely possible is because he is a high roller. He's a gambler. When he go to these casinos, and you've seen him get in trouble at the casinos before, but those things disappear when you're McKeever Bush, when you're touching people on the bonk and all kind of stuff. But they're sending you a private jet. You get a limousine escort. Why? Because that man goes and in a weekend, he can drop 30, 40, 50 grand with ease. You think he winning? The house wins. It's an addiction. The other thing that, and I'm not really going too deep into the gambling issue because one day we're going to have this conversation and I'm going to collate and bring all the facts to the table about gambling. I'm not ready yet. I ain't did my research fully yet. But the other thing that is interesting about gambling, just because you legalize it and you have a state-run gambling set up, you think that people who buy illegal numbers are going to be enticed by that? Because that is going to be, regulated and all sorts of stuff. Well, one thing you better do is make sure you have Gambling Anonymous available for people too. Because have easier access to it does not help people with a problem. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy.
Morning, sir. How
Hello.
are you? Yes, sir.
Good. I'm coming back to you, but I just thought that you might have find it very useful to play that song. It's called "The House of the Rising Sun."
Mm-hmm.
You should play that, and then I'll get back to you. But that is has so much meaning to it that you might want to consider that and play it for everybody.
Mm.
So talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, dear. Let me see here. Morning, Sandy. Love your blouse, and the dew is holding up well. Thanks for another good show. Okay, so we're going to get into some more of the video clips from Parliament. This person says, good morning, Sandy. There are sellers buying dozens of homes in West Bay and maybe all over the land. Sandy, the area for that where the Peruvian was killed was in Northwest Point. Oh, thank you for the clarification. Northwest Point. Okay. I remember reading the case file and I thought it was kind of close to Domino's for some reason, but thank you for clarifying. So this person says, Chris needs to keep his mom out of his mouth. What his mom is going through, he is the cause. It was shame, and she's a decent woman. She worked very hard to put him where he is, to have a decent life. He is the one who threw ish in her face. That is what he needs to talk about. What a mess. Let me see here. This person says, I think we can use this word without Offred calling us bastards. I mean, that's not a curse word, right? This person says the bastards are like they all in one big disgusting club. Sick. I can't understand how they get pleasure from this. From sexual harassment? Maybe clarify. Somebody else said that wasn't the lady that was convicted of theft taking money for rental also addicted to gambling? The one in Rock Hole. Oh, yes. She took $1 million from the one guy talking about she was gonna give him status. Oh Lord, her name is on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, she was running the rental scam. Oh Lord Jesus, what her name is again? Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Sorry, her name. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it on the Judy Faye. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Oh God, here she is. Judith Molly Ann Douglas. Yeah, same thing. She admitted that she has a huge gambling problem. Judith Douglas. Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who do other things in order to support their gambling habit, including stealing from people, not paying their bills, and all sorts of stuff. So Carrie says, good morning, Sandy. Gambling is a biblical level sin, you know. It's right along prostitution in the Bible, but prostitutes still make a living. Okay. I'm not so sure about prostitutes making much of a living, but if you say so, that's not the way that anybody should be trying to seek to make a living. Miss Blondie says, Sandra, one hand and fingers left over. You understand? Trust and believe me. Cameron says, Sandy, seems like you never left, but it was so sweet to be one of us. I'm coming very soon. Lord have mercy. Yes, you know, and I'll be honest with you, my perspective on a lot of things is because I've had the exposure of living overseas and growing up and living in somebody else's country. Some of y'all limited, you know, you're very limited because Cayman is all you know, honey child. And I hate to tell you, there was a time that this little dot was not even on the map. Y'all need to broaden your horizons. And we are so incredibly fortunate. Here, Johan, talking about if at 9:30 yet. Try and behave yourself, Johan. All right, let's watch some more videos from Parliament that we can then try to dissect, because apparently Chris Saunders is offended that we, the people, have the right to talk about him and to call him to task. Well, you're an elected member, sir, at least for now. Might not be for much longer. But until then, you don't have the right to be threatening anybody in the House of Parliament. This man, it occurs to me, has lost his mind. I am flabbergasted. And then Joke Seymour jumps up after him because, you know, fools follow each other. What do they say? Fools seldom differ in their way of thinking. They're in the same wavelength. So he gets up in his diatribe talking about, oh, his family and this and that. And I'm not going to go as far as Chris. Y'all should not be able to get up. If you want to charge McKeever, Elvis McKeever and Cayman Brat for making threats on his show, right? Although it got thrown out on a technicality. If you want to charge him, how can someone stand up in the honorable House of Parliament and make threats and that's okay? Look at the example that they're setting for our young people. Let's hear it, because I haven't heard it directly, but I've heard people say, who is he trying to make these threats at? Let's have a listen.
The Speaker, one of the things I mentioned already, and I want to say this, and I've said it before, I don't know what or how I will behave when Rose Saunders closes her eyes. But I'm going to say this much. People have already put my mother in the hospital already. And I'm telling you up front, the next time she goes back inside there is going to be a side of me that people are going to pray never, ever comes out. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. They have done that to my mother already. So while I can live with the stress and the thickness of skin that I've been blessed with, a lot of the stuff, people in our lives take these things to heart. And I'm telling the people I'm out there that have this nasty way of dividing our people, the nasty politics. They better pray to God that Christopher Saunders' intelligence is continuing to be used to the betterment of this country. Because the day I decide to use my mind for something else, really? No, also I'm getting away with it. Don't think, I'm not going to tell anybody that we're in prison for anybody, because they're going in prison for nobody. I'm getting away with it. So I want to send that message clear, because I already got some nasty comments already coming out. And I'm going to tell you, this is how it starts. And that's the reason why I'm glad the member for West Bay West brought the motion he did. Trying to divide this small population already as it is not the way it is. We are all Caymanians. Really?
Really. We're all Caymanians, but you can jump up and divide us along racial lines. Divide us along this one rich, that one not rich, so we're going to treat them differently. Sir, with no respect intended whatsoever, you need to take several seats, okay? Because you're going to need more than one seat. The one seat not big enough for you. Your ego is just out of control. I don't know anything about his mama being in the hospital. Whatever was wrong with her, I pray that she had a full recovery, okay? But let me tell you what I do know. For someone to get up in the House of Parliament and to make this threat to show us, we the people, that he is nothing more than a common thug is what he just did, right? It's no wonder that our young people are out there doing 90% of what they're doing. This is the example that you're leading with. This threatening people, perpetrating violence, right? Or if something happened to your mama, you better take accountability for the stress you put your own mother under and nothing else. Sir, who are you threatening? You want get away with it? You can imagine. He's basically saying he's going to do harm to others. And I don't know exactly who the hell he's talking to, which opponents or which who. But you're going to do harm to others and you're going to get away with it. You're not going to jail. Wow. Listen when people speak. He's taken valuable time in the Legislative Assembly, folks, to show us who he is. Remember what I said a couple of weeks ago? When they show you, believe them. When they show you, accept it. Good morning, caller.
Please tell me that was AI generated.
Lord
that
Jesus.
Could not have been for real. That could, it's not even the threat part for me. It's the part that I'm going to get away with it. Like, are you serious? Is this the type of people we have leading our country? No, I agree with what he's saying with the nasty politics and whatever. Okay, fine. But to say what he said?
Yeah.
Or is that a joke? That gotta be AI generated. That gotta be fake.
Right?
I'm at a loss for words. Like, came on, not real, please.
Thank you, caller. A loss for words. Y'all better believe it. Yep. Wow. All I can tell you is I'll play it again. If y'all want to hear it again, y'all don't look like you believe in it. I'll play it again. Listen carefully.
The speaker.
Hold on. Caller's calling in, honey child. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Not bad. How you doing?
I was just listening to this idiot. And in case Sanders, who it is, don't know who it is, I'm Dexter. His biggest problem is not the people that put his mother in the hospital. It's his action that put people in that not taking responsibility for his action that put his mother in the hospital. Because when you do not take responsibility for your action, you're lying to yourself. Who can you be an honest person to? It is sad that we got representatives that people should be looking up to. Nobody can look up to him. It is so sad that we have that type of representation in the House of Parliament. It should be one of the most respected places in the world, in the Cayman Islands. And he's going on the way that he's threatening people. He should be, the police, this is a legislation that need to come in place. It's threatening, because he's going to threaten people. And guess what? He's going to get away with it. That's a criminal. And I can say it, let him sue me. I don't have anything for him to sue.
Well, I mean, he certainly demonstrated how he thinks. Someone said, he's aligning himself with undesirable Jamaicans, and not just Jamaicans who are criminals. We have undesirable criminals from all over the world. But this is the mentality that you can do something which he admits would break the law and that he's going to get away with it. That is how big and bold this man is. And Mr. Dexter, imagine if he can stand up before the people of this country and say this in Parliament, Nayina, in Parliament. What do you think he says and does in cabinet?
Oh my God, it really bothers me. It makes me so emotional for one of our representatives, and he's running again.
Yep.
No party. The PPM or whatever want to take him under their wings should be. It is disgusting. I would distance myself as far away from him and the cable as I could.
Yeah.
The other night, I said to this guy down at if he knew where Ralston was staying, because I wanted to talk to him, because after listening to what policies that he put in place, Sandy, I'm always convinced that I would vote for him. But I told the person to tell him to give me a call where he can, and I will be recording everything that we say, and I'm going to tell him that so that I'll have it for advance. If it have to come to that he has divorced McKeever. And I'm still waiting for Ralston to call me.
Okay.
So
I'm sure after today's show you'll be getting a call. As you know, they listen.
That speaks volume. A person asks you that told the person, tell him that I'm almost convinced I would vote for him. But he got to reassure me.
He got to earn your vote. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't need the money.
Yeah.
I don't need the money.
That's right. Ask them questions and be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dexter.
Believe me, when I'm through with him, I don't, like I said, I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm November coming, I'll be 78. What do I have to lose? I got children and grandkids, about great grandkids. I want to know who we are putting in to the Legislative Assembly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I want to be proud of our representatives. I have no loyalty to any politician. I have no affiliation or association. And I could, and if I mean, just like you, but if you can do the best for this country, you got my vote.
Thank you.
Anyway, Sandy, thank you.
Thank you, my darling. Marshall says, what in the world is he really saying on that video? Is that what he's using his time in the LA to do? Is he for real? He's the only person responsible for what his mother is going through. Gabby says, Anana here when bad man talk. Chris says, YouTuber 345 is already a part of nasty politics. His arrogance is taller than he is. Well, he isn't particularly tall because he wears shoes to increase his height. But anyway, point taken. Island Pearl says, no, wait, say what? Why does he even have anything to do with the runnings of this island? How is this, even possible to have someone willing to stand up and publicly say those things? God help us. Right. Blackberry says these yellow belly MPs, what would happen if they were in a real political arena in a country of millions of people who attack politicians with more than just words, a thin skin and audacity to threaten the people? Cameron says, My guy warning about intelligence. Settle down, old fella. We have him gassed up who have him gassed up like that? Irwin. I'm not sure what this one's about, but he says exactly, there are certain industries that mankind can never get out of, no matter how wrong. Oh, I guess about the gambling. Miss Moya says, I don't quite understand when politicians complain about people and speaking on them on issues that people are disgruntled with, when one of our constitutional rights is freedom of speech. Yet if they upset and say what they want to say in the House of Parliament, it is a protected parliamentary privilege. The reality of politics and digging up politicians' bones is a worldwide norm. And you see, the funny thing is, Moya, he's able to sit in Parliament and make this threat and say essentially anything he wants without fear. You can't even sue them. Parliamentary privilege is such a protected right. They can sit there and completely say things that are illegal, unlawful, defamatory, libelous, whatever, and you can't do anything about it because they have parliamentary privilege. But let me tell you when you guys can do something about this. April the 30th, we're going to all go to the polls. Somebody asked me earlier if I'm in Bordentown West. Yes. And I'm going to go to the polls. And I can tell you what, my vote will not be cast in favor of Chris Saunders under any circumstances. Open your eyes. Vernita says his garrison behavior put his mom to shame. That's what put her in the hospital. His mom is a sweet woman. Island Pearl says, don't play that crap again, please. I am in such shock, I can't mentally decipher what I just saw and heard. Tartarian says, this is just as bad or worse as them Asian parliamentarians. What a mess. Ms. Jean says, thank you, Mr. Dexter. Cameron says, Alden was easy on him that day because the new cards are being dealt. I'm surprised that he was not stopped from making these threats. And then John gets up after him and says, well, I'm not going to go as far as that. Really? You're not going to go as far as saying that you're basically a hoodlum and a criminal and that you're threatening people? Jean says he should have been removed. Sandra Coe says, God help us. That's his culture. Okay, man, what are we going to do about him? Disgraceful. Urban Thread said this is why the government should pass legislation on who can run for politics. We need persons who have good track records, good character, and also qualified to run ministries of our government. I'm also disappointed in the older politicians as there's been no succession planning, as I mentioned yesterday. Right? Stacy says he need for come down now. This is the idiot that the people vote for? Shaking my head. Priscilla says, well, he needs to be reminded that he stands in the Cayman Islands Honorable Parliament and not Jamaica's. He could even get away with saying this in Jamaica. Then people would have dealt with him. Come on now. Who he threatening? Alonzo says, play it again, please. I can play it again because I don't think that you guys fully heard what he said. And as I said, somebody tell you something, you better believe him. Take him at his word. He basically said he's going to hurt people and he's going to get away with it. How are you going to get away with it? Because you're above the law? Because you're so bright, you're so smart? That's the narcissism speaking right there. Pay attention, my fellow Caymanians. Cameron says Alden should have reprimanded him. Vernita says this is what we have to deal with. You all better wake up and fast because it's too much of these people and corruption we're dealing with in these islands. Carol says he should be disqualified. Sandra says kaboom, thank you. Morning, Siobhan. My God. Roar K-Man says, them there are the man way bring in the guns. Check it. Priscilla says, was he reprimanded for that behavior in Parliament? Did the Speaker Premier say anything to him? Let me ask people who were watching it. I have the transcripts. Anybody saw after this? These people are shocked. Says, and read Mr. Dexter waiting on Rolston for call. I am also. Well, forward the message to Rolston. Yeah, this is it's really, really shocking, folks. And let me ask if he got reprimanded. In fact, I can try and pull up the transcripts and see. I've now taken to putting parliamentary transcripts together. My apologies, because God knows, like I said, there's certain things that you can't believe your ears. Let me see. I'm here 1 second if I can pull up the transcripts. So they're quite lengthy, because that one I believe was about 8 hours in length. Someone who watched it afterwards, did Alden reprimand him in any way, shape, or form? I doubt it. All right, I'll double check it, but I don't think so. But let's watch it again. In case you didn't hear it the first time and you're still in a sense of disbelief, let's make sure that y'all comprehend fully what this man has just said. And like I said, I don't know who he's directing this at. If this is supposed to be, anybody who opposes him. Damien says he's rubbing the code of conduct in Panton's face because he's a backbencher now. I know that had he said this as a member of Wayne Panton's government, that code of conduct would have been triggered, and surely he would have been dealt with. But you see, he's already been fired as deputy premier. Is that what landed your mom in the hospital? I have no clue. I don't know who he's talking to or what he's referring to. I've never heard that she was in the hospital. She is a senior person, so heaven forbid you should get sick and have to go to the hospital. Or heaven forbid, one day his mother's going to die just like everybody's mother. He's gonna go kill somebody because his mother has died. This man is sick. Prosperity Purpose says the funniest thing is that there are still people who are willing to vote for him. His ghetto behavior is outrageous. Shocking. Birds of a feather flock together, says Vernita. Miss Jean says it's one thing to argue amongst each other, but to involve the people. Miss Cheryl, thank you, says Chris is a disgrace. Vote him out in Bordentown West. Poor Selvin. He's here to defend the foolishness. Selvin says, is this a Chris Saunders takedown? My God, Selvin. Selvin, do you know how ridiculous you sound right now? Do you know how ridiculous you make yourself look? Are you serious, Selvin? A Chris Saunders takedown. Let me try to digest that thought. Because the man himself got up and said something in his own voice in Parliament that is now part of the Hansards, recorded on CIG TV. You're asking me if it's a Chris Saunders takedown? Did I put those words in Chris Saunders' mouth? Have I done his behavior for him? Ask yourself those questions before you ask if it's a Chris Saunders takedown. No. It is a new day in the Cayman Islands this election season of accountability for everyone. Okay? And sorry, but not sorry, Chris Saunders has a lot to account for, especially in the last 4 years. I have requested a document, and I pray that agency releases that document, because there was an internal investigation done on Chris Saunders by the Auditor General's department, the Auditor General's office, in relation to those LFTs. And when I get my hands on that and we, the people, read through that, if you were still considering giving this man a vote, I think if you have any sense at all, you will certainly change your mind. Let's just hope that my FOI request is granted. When I show you the proof and letters and complaints that I'm going to get that this man was terminated from his job as deputy governor, deputy premier, oh God, my apologies, terminated from his job as deputy premier for his sexual harassment of civil servants. And it was so bad that in writing, the civil service requested that the premier must do something about this. Selvin, I want you to ask me the question again about if this is a takedown of Chris Saunders. Speaking the truth. Speaking the truth on our elected officials is not a takedown. It is called accountability. And every single elected member and every single person who wants to get elected needs to pay attention to their behavior and also the things that they say. It is a bold day in the Cayman Islands when this man can stand up in that so-called honorable House of Parliament and make threats, right, about harming people and what he is going to do. Yes, I'm going to play it again. Give me a second. And then you still have Selvin sitting here talking about if this is a takedown of Chris Saunders. Selvin, get yourself together. Anya says in response to Cheryl, Bontown West voter here, and he will not be getting my vote. Love Lopez, yes, we're going to play it again. I'm just catching up on a few of the comments. Bonnie says something should be done about it. Guess it will be swept under the rug like other issues. Cayman Brat, the best island, says, I agree. He should be put in Parliament jail. Strong Wilt says, Sandy, the next person who's running against Chris isn't any better. I know what I know. Which next person are you talking about? Because there's actually two people running against Chris, so maybe you need to be a little bit more specific. Cheryl, and if you're talking about Ozzy, I'll tell you one thing. Ozzy might have taken out his cow card and slapped somebody with it who was trying to steal from him, but I have never, ever heard Ozzy stand up in Parliament and threaten that he gonna do what to somebody. I'm not sure exactly what Chris intends to do that's gonna be sending him to jail that he claims he can get away with. I've never heard Ozzy do that. Okay? Yes, we know of Ozzy's misstep, and we don't support any bad behavior from anyone. Calling Jennifer Ahern, what it was again, Driftwood. That was wrong of him. And he was demoted. Good for Alden. He dealt with the situation. There were consequences. But if you think, I've never heard any stories about Ozzy sexually harassing anybody at the workplace. So when you say that he's not any better, I would challenge you, Strong Wilt, to give me some concrete examples. I'm not saying he's perfect, and I know he's done stuff, and you guys can put those questions to him when he's here about how he has addressed that behavior. Because the one thing I know with certainty, right? We're all human beings, and we all are open to saying the wrong things at the wrong times and faltering. But you have got to be willing to humble yourself and apologize to the people when you are an elected member. And try to improve yourself. And where there's no improvement, and instead we hear this narcissistic behavior, that you're going to commit a crime and get away with it. I've never heard Ozzy say that either. Cheryl says, where is Juliana? She should ask him to step down immediately. Jean says, Selvin, his behavior speaks for itself. Well, we know who is controlling gangs being imported, says Cheryl. Marshall says that speech should seal his fate right out of politics for good. Lesson learned says Northwood does not want you, Chris. Ozzy all the way. Not even his own Jamaicans who he claims put him in office want him anymore. And I can tell you that for a fact. Because remember now, I'm Jamaican adjacent. And I ain't talking about my husband because he don't get involved in politics, although he's now a registered voter and he will be voting in the upcoming election. I don't get involved. He don't get involved in politics. He's a very private, low-key person. Other Jamaicans that I consider good friends and colleagues have said they are done with Chris Saunders. You hear me? My yard is say they're done. Marshall says, Selvin, Chris has taken himself down because of his behavior. Good morning, Miss Stephanie. She says, what's in the dark, come to light. You got to look into all the businessmen that is backing him. Gabby says, reasons why I don't vote. No, Gabby. Don't make this be a reason not to vote. Get out there and vote. Vote against him. This is why you should vote. Cayman Brack says Saunders is his own takedown. Stephanie says the truth is like arrows. Lesson learned says, I shall send his comments to the House of Parliament in the UK. Oh, Lord. So Ozzy is running with TCCP, and there's also Mr. Hammond Rankin with Lord, the other party, Dan Scott's party. I got to get the name right on that. The CT, what's it called again? Anyway, so I think it's Hammond or Harmon Rankin. Prosperity says some men really believe that it is okay to be harassing people because of their position. Kiss my teeth. Roar K-Man says Ozzy is better than this rubbish any day. What is wrong with these people, says Siobhan. Roar says no one's perfect. We all make mistakes at some point or the other. His character stinks. He is morally bankrupt. That's the problem. Damien says April the 30th at 11 p.m. he will be humbled. Too many narcissistic people walking around the place. They want to do whatever, whenever, and nobody's not supposed to bat an eye. Sorry, Bobo, not today or any other day, says Siobhan Barry. Good morning, Miss Brenda. Cheryl says to Cheryl, she doesn't have the authority to do that. He's elected, not appointed, which is true. Only the voters have that power unless he decided to step down on his own. CINP, thank you. Cayman Islands National Party. Thank you, Miss Brenda. And it's Haymon, Haymon, Rankin. You're not voting for anyone straight out. What does that mean? You can't split your votes. So I don't know what that means. Dana says, wake up, K-Man. Do your own background research before you place your vote. Don't vote because you know the candidate, because you can and will be disappointed. They're looking the big money. They don't have the people of our country at heart. They make big promises on their platform, and that is as far as it goes. Please, and seek God's guidance before you make your X on election day. A promise is a comfort to a fool. We will continue to be taken as fools. Carrie, I don't know what this means about Dan Scott's party. Is the PIMP party? It's really CINP, but I like to call it PIMP to remember the right name. What? Melissa says there was no reprimand from the Speaker of the House. Wow. In Bordentown West, we have better options than these two ones, says Sandra. Anthony says, it won't move Chris Saunders out of office with the large first and second generation Jamaican contingent in Bordentown West, with people running as Vincent and Ozzy coming out 100 days before election. Those who claim we need better need to be out and let the public know in advance. Well, I hope to God that Vincent doesn't waste his $1,000 this time. But I can tell you one thing for sure, Anthony. I'm telling you, those first and second generation Jamaicans are not for Chris. I don't know if you're talking to them, but I'm talking to a lot of them, and they have had enough of him and his foolishness. Not only has the man done all of this, but they have also recognized that he actually hasn't accomplished anything. What has he accomplished last 4 years? Love Lopez asking who is running against John. So there's a gentleman, oh Lord, I can't remember his name now. Well, they need to get out here and campaign. I'm not campaigning for him, but he does have somebody running. And I hope to God other people will step forward as well. Let's listen to it again, folks.
Mr. Speaker, one of the things I mentioned already, and I want to say this, and I've said it before, I don't know what or how I will behave when Rose Saunders closes her eyes. But I'm going to say this much. People have already put my mother in the hospital already. And I'm telling you up front, the next time she goes back inside there is going to be a side of me that people are going to pray never, ever comes out. Okay? They have done that to my mother already. So while I can live with the stress and the thickness of skin that I've been blessed with to ignore a lot of the stuff, people in our lives take these things to heart. And I'm telling the people I'm out there that have this nasty way of dividing our people, the nasty politics, they better pray to God that Christopher Saunders' intelligence is continuing to be used to the betterment of this country. Because the day I decide to use my mind for something else, know also I'm getting away with it. Don't think, I'm not gonna tell anybody that we're in prison for anybody, because they're going to prison for nobody. I'm getting away with it. So I want to send that message clear. Because I already got some nasty comments already coming out. And I'm going to tell you, this is how it starts. And that's the reason why I'm glad the member for West Bay West brought the motion he did. Trying to divide this small population already as it is not the way it is. We are all Caymanians.
There you have it, folks. The biggest idiots are the ones that vote for an idiot like Chris. God, please forgive me, says this person. Salvin can't be serious. Either way, disrespectful to even make a comment like that. No reprimanding. I've gotten confirmation. This other person says, Salvin is trying to draw you out. Tell Salvin, yes, it is for anyone who can come to people with their lies. This person says, he appears to be someone that was bullied as a child in school and definitely has short person syndrome. I mean, I don't know the history of why people are how they are. What I do know, folks, is a lot of us have issues, myself included, that undoubtedly stem from childhood trauma. And what you do as an adult is you get professional help. There are people who are more than willing to help you. And that is what needs to happen. Okay? So I'm not understanding it. You have the resources available to you. You have got to take advantage of those resources. But what you find happening is that people don't want to admit that they have these demons. For you to get up and make threats is shocking. This person says, morning, hun. OMG, he's crazy. WTF, he was not removed from Parliament. No words. No wonder our kids are the way that they are. There are no sounds like the way they are, and the way they are sounds like he is in a gang making threats. It's ridiculous. Wow. Someone says, so are you saying that he can't be arrested or called to be questioned about this? Well, the thing about threats, there's very, and it's so interesting because this is the same man who stood up in Parliament before the police commissioner, put this in context, and said to the police commissioner that I should be arrested and charged and incarcerated, right? For saying things that he didn't like. I wasn't making threats to anybody, to be clear. This is that same man. Put it all in context, folks, because it is so incredibly shocking. But yes, he has parliamentary privilege. So can't be touched, as far as I know. I'm not so sure that he's met the threshold because he didn't direct it at anyone in particular. Someone on Instagram says, cryptic message, he forgot to take his medicine. They also go on to say, was that Kanye West? Yeah, man, it's shocking. I'm just like, dude. Well, we're off radio now. Thank you to radio listeners. You can switch over to our other feeds, but I can't even, I know y'all wait, y'all like, oh, 9:30 Sandy can pop off. I can't even pop off about this because to me, this is so disgusting. This is not the behavior that I expect of an elected official, not the behavior I expect of someone who is educated, right? Listen, let me break this down for y'all. Come a little bit closer, because we have a come into Jesus moment. We all have, like I said, childhood trauma that we're dealing with, and chaos and other things that kind of dictate our behavior. So on the one hand, you know, no matter how high you rise, there is a part of you, something in your personality that can be triggered. You know, undoubtedly everybody loves their mama. Well, most of you love your mama, and that can be triggering. But this is deep. This is so much deeper than that, because I don't know, like I said, I don't know anything about who he thinks put his mother in the hospital. We have got to be willing to take accountability for ourselves. Nobody can put Chris Saunders' mama under any degree of stress but him. Let me break it down for y'all. I can move my mic a little bit closer. Chris Saunders, right, has given the impression from this video that he wishes to protect his own mother. Okay, politics is a nasty game. I'm not even in politics as such. I'm just here trying to educate people and trying to talk. And they're coming at me, contacting my clients, sending them messages. You know, I've gotten all kind of messages about who it is and who it could be and whatever. And I'm like, wow, these people dirty bad. I understand how dirty they are, right? I have a daughter. I have a husband. I have people that I care about that I don't want to be impacted by politics. That's why I'm not a politician. I'm not even a politician, and they still coming at me because they see that I'm here trying to get you all to think for yourselves, bringing these things to light. How many of you would have ever seen this video if we didn't play it this morning? Because I know y'all don't have 8 hours to go and watch the parliamentary proceedings. So we have to take certain highlights. How many of you, put your hands up. Maybe we should do a poll question now. How many of you would have seen this video if we didn't play it this morning? Given the shock that most of you are in, I dare say that probably 95% of you would have never seen the video. And this is what it is, folks. This is what we are dealing with. He has demonstrated today who he is, or I should say on Friday when these comments were made, he has demonstrated who he is. Believe him. Now, here's the irony of the situation. If he was trying to protect his mother from politics, ask yourselves this question. Why would he hire his mommy to work in his political office? Think about it. This is a man who's making threats. Don't y'all, you know, talk about my mother and this, that, and the next thing. Okay. Putting her in the hospital. But he has her working as his political assistant in the political office. Does that make any sense to you? That's not someone who's trying to protect their mom from the political arena. Because people are going to call your political office. They're going to complain. I'm assuming he has a phone number that she's answering, you know, as his political assistant. That's her job. If he really cared, and this shows you the narcissism and the lies and the pretense. If he really cared about his mother, why would he put her in that job? Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
What a mess. How are you?
I am okay. I wanted to get to you before you got too salty. Oh, forgive me if I cough.
Yeah, I know you've been under the weather. I hope you're starting to feel better.
Yeah. It's one of these very deceitful, whatever it is, because you think you're feeling better one day and you say, oh, good, tomorrow will be a lot better. And then tomorrow you feel a lot worse. But anyway, I have dealt with bigger than this.
Yes.
And I'm still here. But
absolutely.
Anyway, I would like to say something. And before I say it, I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I am saying, because I am not here to bat for anyone. elected or unelected. But I would like to say that everyone, if everyone is going to tear down Prisonda, they need to take a look at everybody else. I remember, I think this was in 2017. My mother was still alive, and she wanted to hear her son speak. Okay? So, of course, I knew my mother didn't have much longer to go, and I figured she would not have that opportunity again. So I took her to the meeting, and there was an incident at that meeting by then, I guess you would say, candidate, because the person was not elected yet. And it was awful. Needless to say, it traumatized a lot of people, including my elderly mother, who was blind. Okay? The police were called. Everybody knew who did it. And there was an assault being launched on, I think, Alden at the time also. And there was nothing done about it. So it's a two-tier justice
Sorry,
system.
just say that last part to me again. There was
an assault launched on Alden.
And this was, you're saying, in 2017?
Yeah, not a physical assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, and nothing was done about it. Okay? Nothing was ever done about it. So my mother almost died.
And that wasn't in Parliament. That was where?
It was at a meeting.
Okay.
But I am saying the rules should apply no matter where. And at the time, Alden was a sitting member of Parliament. But he wasn't protected either, okay? Or anyone else that was there for that matter. And I watched my mother almost die that night.
Wow.
And thanks to your aunt, who was there and assisted me, okay? I won't go further into it than there. And all I'm saying, we have had incidents of very bad behavior in Parliament before. Nothing was ever done about it. And that is why it continues. And people don't have to speak loudly or use ugly language to be nasty. Sometimes they do it very cool. And I have been listening to Parliament, and I can say to you, I've been very disappointed by some of the stuff that I've heard. Although I can also say it has removed a lot of doubt that I've had about certain ones. So what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously we weren't around then, so I can't speak to, how we would have handled that situation had we known about it. But wow. Thank you, caller.
No, but I'm saying the police were called and they were there.
Oh.
They did nothing.
Right.
And that was not the only time the incident took place. All I'm trying to say is that it has to be for everyone. The bad behavior is exercised by many. I'm not going to say all, but by many. So let us be fair to them. And I'm not picking on anyone here now. I'm just saying, I see people that vote in other areas saying, take him out. You know what I would say? Because it's how I feel. I'm concentrating on my area where I can vote. You take care of your area. And if we all take care of our areas, then hopefully we will end up with a better result this go around. Because I keep saying, if we want change, we have to make that change. We cannot keep putting back the same people and expecting a different result. And I'm going to end by saying, no Caymanian across the board, their lives have not improved any in the last 4 years. No fight that I saw taken to the house was for any Caymanian or the Cayman Islands. Let us bear that in mind when we go to the polls, whenever it is.
Thank you. April the 30th. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, dear. What a mess. This person says, well, Jesus Christ, how old is his mummy and still working and government paying her? Chris stopped her from working years ago because he was taking care of her and now got her working in the office like it is his money, honey child. So, yeah. So let me be very, very clear. At the end of the day, that is all about trying to just give her free money because she ain't doing very much work. I've never even known Chris to have a proper office where people can call him, and I'm his constituent, to reach out or nothing of the sort. So, you know, some MPs do that. They have that job. The government is paying that individual, and it's a decent salary, and they have that job and that position in place so that you know, people can basically support family members, because now it doesn't have to come out of his pocket. It's coming out of the pocket of the people of the Cayman Islands. I'm just pointing out the level of duplicity involved in his comment, because if he was really concerned about his mummy's health, I mean, I don't know exactly how old she is, to be honest. He's 52. He said last week was his birthday. He's 52. So conservatively, his mother is probably at least 20 years older than him, if not more. So she's well in her 70s. And she, you know, isn't retired because he has her working. Like I said, I know she's not really doing much, but that's, you know, that's to his own detriment, not having a proper, and he doesn't trust anybody else to ever help him with his campaign. In case you guys haven't noticed, he only will ever have family members do that whenever he does his fruit cakes and whatever else. So it's a sad day. It's a sad day in the Cayman Islands, quite frankly. Thank you, Melissa, for confirming no reprimand from the Speaker of the House, not even verbal reprimanding. And it's funny that it's the very same Alden that even that last caller said, you know, and you expect something different on the political, and we want them to keep it above board, to be honest, but we've seen them. Even Alden himself has gotten on platforms and lied about people and called people. Remember last time he was talking about Sammy because he felt threatened by Sammy, and he was singing that song about, how does the song go again? About Sammy for dead or some foolishness. That kind of low brow politics is not something that we should be encouraging. But we know that on the campaign trail and on their platforms, it happens. It's not right at all. But what I want to, quite frankly, say is that is still different, in my opinion, than being in Parliament. That's an official record. That's in the Hansards for the world to see. That's recorded in our history now forever. Let me just see here. Absolute disgrace. Priscilla says, what a mess. We now got other nationalities dictating our elections, but I guess that was the plan all along from the mass status grants. Iva says Robert Biden is running against John. Thank you, Miss Iva, for that. TF, he means he don't know how he going to behave, sir. What? Gabby Miles says clearly his skin is not as thick as he thinks. Jean says he created his own storm now and will cry when it starts to rain. What a brass neck. What's a brass neck? Al didn't let Parliament down with that diatribe. Shameful. What intelligence, says Miss Mavis. I don't know who he talking about with his mama. Your guess, Cameron, is as good as mine. Roar K-Man says people are ashamed to admit that they need help. Marjorie says, Sandy, that sounds similar to other quotes that I have been told that Jamaicans have said, like, we're going to rape the Cayman women and kill the men. This threat is very scary coming from a representative, and it echoes some of those rumors I have. If he is pleased with Mr. Bush's motion, he is now doing the opposite. Serious threat. What was Bush's motion, by the way? I didn't hear what Bush's motion was. It sounds like Hamas and Cayman, says Marjorie. Getting away with it is just wild. Who has his back, says Aquaman 345. I mean, to me, that's shocking, because what that says, quite frankly, is he doesn't believe the judiciary even works to hold people accountable of serious crimes, because he's already going into it saying that he, would get away with it. Shocking, absolutely shocking. Erwin, good morning, sir, says at Selvin, yes, this is Chris Saunders' takedown. By his own doing, though, media don't care about any of his good policy commentary that day. Plan for water authority being sold or whatever, no comment. It's all takedown today. Well, Erwin, if he if he had any real sense, he could have, as you rightfully said, by his own doing, he could have kept the conversation above board. Okay. And let's be clear, even the comment he made about the water authority, that was supposed to be a jab at Dan Scott and Ernst & Young report from 11 years ago, which is something Dan Scott should rightfully address. But that's not something that Dan Scott has said now or this year. And it was also a report that was commissioned by the government of the day, which was the PPM government, with a particular remit in place. So Chris Saunders didn't provide y'all with all of those details. He's just trying to take a cheap shot at Dan Scott. Moya says watching that parliamentary sitting is like watching an episode of Love and Hip Hop or Baddies. Oh, I've never even heard of Baddies. What's that one all about? Baddies. To see what they publicize to the world to represent us, they're supposed to conduct themselves as a polished and professional level and should inspire all of us Caymanians. Instead, they have the whole class turning around saying WTH. Johan is like, fire time. Raymond says it's always interesting when people blame others for the consequences of their own actions. By running for public office, you have indeed exposed yourself, family, and personal business to public critique. In case y'all didn't get the memo. So all of you who are running and think that people are not going to talk about you, please understand, people are going to go and dig up your history, and you have to be willing to address it. Listen, every sinner has a future, and every saint has a past. Ain't nobody in Cayman perfect. Nobody does not have something that somebody can point out. Well, I don't know. Even the good little church going girl, y'all. I see how she be looking at pastors sometimes. Sometimes y'all be making stuff up in your head. Okay? All you have to do is address it, honey child. We made mistakes. We've done ish. Just be honest and address it. Because that's what's expected of you. You have got to be prepared to take accountability. If you say we want people to get into Parliament who are going to be held accountable, how can you be held accountable if you're never willing to say, yes, I did this, I did that in my past, but I have addressed it. Those demons that, allowed me to go in that direction, I have since addressed. Be honest with the people. It's when you remain in your narcissistic little box that we go, what's going on here? When you can't see the man in the mirror for what he really is. That is when you got a problem. Margie says he's got to go. Baden Tanners, don't vote him back in. And like I said, I am coming with straight facts this election cycle. I'm going to bring you guys the documentation to show you. You've heard in his own words the kind of person he is, but there's so much more to this man. This is not a man who just misspoke on that day. His behavior has been consistently poor. That's why I say he's morally bankrupt over the last 4 years at least. Who gets fired from the position of deputy premier and then goes around lying to other members of parliament and members of the public, okay, that he has resigned? So you did something wrong, even if you don't want to talk about it, because he don't want us to know that he was sexually harassing civil servants, even if he does not want to talk about it, right? Why are you lying? Shouldn't you just keep your mouth shut about what transpired? Why are you lying that you resigned? And there are good so-called intelligent people who actually believe that Chris Saunders resigned. So when I get that letter in my hand, I'm going to publish it. That FOI is coming. Give me another couple days. I should have it. They might have to redact something to protect the victims because they still remain fearful of him. If he can threaten us or whoever in that, imagine the people working with him. Of course, they're fearful of this man. There's a saying that Dape know who to frighten. I have a family member who's a civil servant. She said, Sandy, why couldn't I be one of them people up in Chris's ministry? I would have dealt with him. I said, child, that's because the good Lord don't want you or your mama to go to jail. Because you enders, not Eastenders. We know y'all already. The whole gang would have gone up northward and grabbed him and give him some cowitch and stuff. I was like, we not advocating that kind of violence. So the good Lord, no. Don't put her up in his department. I mean, it's disgusting. Women shouldn't have to feel that way. You shouldn't have to be under that level of stress when you go to work. So you know what, Selvin? If you want to call it a takedown, you can call it anything you want. The truth is the truth. And it is what it is. Miss Jean says, please stop making excuses for poor behavior. He is his own demise. Cameron Brack says, I hope you know the dirty pieces of shit. He needs some tablets or some health care himself, says Cameron. Aquaman, I'm not sure what that little emoji is supposed to be, but I see ya. Siobhan says, and by the way, this is Siobhan Berry. I normally only say her first name, but some of y'all be thinking I'm talking about the other Siobhan from West Bay, because yesterday Siobhan was in the emergency room, this Siobhan Berry, and y'all messaging the other Siobhan like, oh my God, Sandy said you were in the emergency room. More than one person named Siobhan, honey child. They spell it completely different, but it's pronounced the same. Calm down. Make sure y'all know which specific person I'm talking about. Siobhan says, people don't like when others stand up for themselves, or when a person brings things to light. They'd rather things stay in the dark and stay that way. Melissa says, those were my thoughts exactly. How many of us voting population is watching these meetings at the House of Parliament? We don't. And this is why I feel an obligation to bring some of these highlights to you. You know? It's crazy. The Zoe says, oh man, is this all because you and others don't want the fruitcake anymore? Really hit a nerve? Oh, the Zoe, that's so funny. I don't eat fruitcake, so I've never wanted the fruitcake. And I've always told him not to leave it, but he would still leave it because my husband's Jamaican. I guess y'all think all Jamaicans love fruitcake too. You wish it was about the fruitcake, huh? That would be such a simple explanation. This is just about someone who's demonstrated time and time again. And if you missed the show yesterday, Zoe, where I gave 3 major things that happened during the past 4 years with Chris Saunders, why I can no longer in good conscience vote for him myself because I am a voter in his constituency or support him. In addition to the fact that he's done absolutely nothing for the people. So he's done nothing for the people. He is what we call a word salad. He thinks he sounds good, throwing out all these things and mixing it up, whatever. He is an eloquent speaker. I'll give him that. He writes well. Okay. But when it comes to substance, the man has accomplished nothing. My neighborhood, we have a neighborhood group. They were begging me to run ahead of the election because they're like, we don't want Chris Saunders. Okay. He does nothing for us. And you, just as a community member, get more done for us in this area than he has ever done as an elected person in the last 4 years. Actually, in the total of the 8 years. And I'm like, no, I'm good where I am. I'm not running for office. And I don't do the things I do, even in my community group. I just want a better neighborhood. And so, yes, if something's going on in my neighborhood that impacts our children or elderly, whatever, if I can get stuff done with road works, whatever, I'm going to make the phone call, I'm going to send the email, and I'm going to make it happen. And it has nothing to do with I'm currying favor for a vote. I don't need the vote. I don't need the salary. And I certainly don't need the headache. And I don't need the fruitcake either. It's easy to try to simplify this. Like, oh, Sandy don't like the fruitcake. Child, please. Anybody can look at me and think that food is my issue. I mean, like I'm starving for fruitcake. Really needs to think again, because that ain't it, honey child. I can go and sit down at any restaurant and eat anything I want. I'm not that hard up for a fruitcake. And I want people to be clear too, right? I've never asked Chris Saunders for anything, not a single dollar. No Marl, no refrigerator, nothing. I'm not that kind of person. And even the occasions that he's reached out and offered something, such as, a board appointment, I have graciously turned it down and said, I don't need it. I don't want it. And, during COVID, he did reach out. I'll give him credit for that. He reached out to me and said, Sandy, what do you need? And I said, nope, we're good. We don't need nothing. We work. I got a job. Hubby got a job. Bills are paid. Food in the fridge. We're good. When COVID hit, I could afford to go out, stand in line alphabetically, and get food for the household. I didn't need to call government and said I need 2 bags of groceries. I got nothing in my fridge. No. I just tell them, well, thankfully, not everybody was infected at one time in our household during the pandemic for sure. But, if we order delivery, leave it on the door. The money is under the mat. Do online transactions, whatever. It is a sad day, quite frankly, when we are here talking straight facts and trying to hold people accountable. And those of you who refuse to see what is right in front of you, you would rather think that this is some kind of personal beef with me and Chris. I can assure you, on a personal level, other than lying to my face, which is to me very, very serious, I can't say that he's done anything to me. I don't know what this is all about. So Andrea's all for Chris. She says, everyone wants to tear down Chris Saunders, but not looking at themselves. You all need Jesus. Let me try to say this much. If that is the case, right? It's shocking because, quite frankly, I am confused. He is the elected official here, Andrea. Like I said, everybody has a past, and I encourage everybody to look at themselves, to make some strides and to make some improvements, but they're not representatives of the people. I hold representatives of the people in a special category. Do you want to know why, Andrea and Erwin? Because we pay them a handsome salary. They are supposed to be looking out for us. Over $9,000 a month to stand up in Parliament to threaten someone, and y'all don't think there's something inherently wrong with that? I'm confused. Erwin thinks somebody's paying me to attack Chris. Erwin, you've not been paying attention. He says, yesterday I hear Sandy was alluding to the size of Chris's penis. We'll call it what it is. If she's willing to go that far, she won't leave any negative stone about the man unturned. Fact is, this is a hit job. A hit job. Murder for hire. Oh my God. What else is she paid? Who else is she paid to attack like this? Wow. So again, what we do is we don't look at the facts, right? We don't look at the fact that everything Sandy has said is true. Instead, let's discredit Sandy. Somebody has to be paying her to speak the truth because she's never had that reputation before. Really, Erwin? Are you sure about that? Shall we pull out? Honey child, I feel like I need to grab one of my lengthy receipts. Which one was the longest one for my trip the other day? Was this Walmart? No, that was Skechers. That wasn't that long. But I can still pull it out because they always, that only 3 items, they always make it so long because they're giving you a discount. Let's pull out the receipts. How many MPs over the years that Sandy has tried to hold accountable? Morning, Carla.
Good morning.
Good morning, honey
Sandra.
child.
Yes, just some thoughts sitting down here. Yes, and the thing is this: are we really concerned or take note of our reputation? You can have a good reputation, a bad reputation. Okay, but at the end of the day, what is that inner person, the character connected to? And if you're really not mindful of your character, it's who you are. Then you can't expect to get respect if you don't respect yourself. And that's all I have to say. And nothing can help you, if you don't respect yourself, you won't act accordingly.
Thank you, my dear.
I'm ready.
All right. Receipts. This one is better because this one got more items in it. That was Ross, honey child. Me getting my Ross bargains. All right. See, we have a long list of examples, Erwin, of where over many years, I have held and attempted to hold our elected officials in particular accountable. Not just elected officials, our community leaders, right? Business people, we try to hold them accountable. Is somebody paying me to do that, you think? Let's put it to the test. All right. Who else? Parents. I try to hold parents accountable for the lackluster job that they do with their children. And because now I'm here spitting facts that I'm going to back up in just a little bit with documentation about this man, all of a sudden, this is a hit job. This is a murder of his character. You're assassinating his character. I can't assassinate the man's character if he not done nothing wrong. Okay? Yes, I talked about a little pee-pee yesterday, and please put it in context, right? It was an analogy for how some of these men are out in these streets with, as we would say, out in the streets, you got small pee-pee syndrome. That's why they act the way in which they act. So that was the point of making that comment. Make sure you're putting it together. Pick sense from nonsense. And he's not the only person I've ever said has a small PP, because I'm speaking in, what would we say? Oh God, what's the word for it? Like a little bit of a parable, okay? I've said it. Ask Johan if I didn't say it about his brother. Well, that was a comment from a reader. To be fair, I was reading that comment. And I mentioned it in relation to another Georgetown representative as well. Well, in that case, I've actually seen the photo, so that's a little bit of a different situation, allegedly, of him. Because this is what they're out in these streets doing. They're leaders in this country. They want to be premier. They're running political parties and doing the most. And yet they're out here married to nice Caymanian women. And they're still out here with these Spanish whores because, they're for the highest bidder, who are taking videos of them and pictures of them and circulating it. So if I can say that, and I have said it in the past about our elected officials, my only question to you is, where have you been, Bobo? Have you been paying attention? I feel that I have done a pretty good job of calling them all out once information has come to me that I have been able to verify to some extent. So in other words, I got the photo of the little pee-pee. In other words, I've got the picture of the man with his fingers with a credit card between the woman's private parts, her crotch. These are things I have seen. These are the receipts that I have seen with my own 2 little, now 4 beady eyes. Okay? I'm just saying. When you're an elected official, it is easy to not be in my book. I have seen the messages of some of these guys reaching out to women. Oh, I saw you on Facebook and I like you. You're a married man and a minister in government. Sending them pictures of themselves whilst overseas. I want to breed you. This is the time of and type of energy that our elected officials say they have. When I tell you I got the receipts, don't put me to task, because enough of them would be embarrassed and would fall into the ground. Now, I will tell you the truth. Chris Saunders is different for more reasons than one, because he's taken it to the next level that most of them really not as stupid. I'm going to be honest with you, because it's stupidity. And he tries to be on this moral high ground, which he has no right to stand on. And he's also my representative. So the cold hard truth is not sparing anybody, honey child. Okay? Like I said, I got receipts. We can put them together like this. We need to tape this together, honey child. I got receipts for days. Receipts for days. Seriously. Y'all don't know. And I'm collecting more receipts for days. Because when I speak on him and I'm spewing facts, he'll go out there in the campaign and claim that people lying on him. I want to be able to show you all the facts. And so when I get that Auditor General's internal report, hopefully she's going to release it, I will show you guys what I am saying. And that can be that. Okay? And there is more to come. Cabinet Office got one about him too. I didn't tell him to go out there lying about how he resigned. He did that on his own. So I'm going to prove him to be the liar that he is. It is what it is. I'm trying to see if she responded yet, if I'm going to get it. I don't see it yet. So she's thinking about it. The response that I got is that she was going to think about it. Okay. The report was never published, but done for the government. It's inevitably quite sensitive. So I need to think through whether or not it is still exempt under the FOI Act. Let's pray that she comes to the conclusion that it's not. Because it might be sensitive does not mean that we, the people, don't deserve to have access to it. There's a test here that you have to weigh. Public interest in relation to an elected official that actually did something wrong in their job. That's a serious accusation that I have made. And I have the right to document the internal report from a credible source that y'all cannot question, that has done the necessary investigation, that will bring the facts, and they came to the same conclusion, and they can bring the facts. I should have access to that report so I can share it with the people. That public interest outweighs the sensitivity of the document, you see? But this is how, folks, some of these guys are protected for way too long. We, the people, don't know about internal reports. We don't know about these things that are happening. And the one job that we have here in CMR is to expose it. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. Dexter here again. I just got off the phone when Ralston called me.
He was listening.
And yes, he must have been listening. And I was very impressed. We had about a half-hour talk, and he reassured me. He says McKeever has been approaching him, wants him to align himself with McKeever's party and whatever he's forming. He says, he told McKeever, he says, I will not be a part of any political part. I want to do things on my own.
So are you saying that let me just clarify this now. Are you saying that McKeever Bush is joining a political party?
I don't know. I may be wrong.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, McKeever has approached him, Ralston, and he says, no, McKeever, I will not be aligning myself with any politician.
Okay.
I want to do this on my own. He says that, I told him, I said, Ralston, when I heard you talk on my road before. I was very impressed with the policies that you had implemented, and it's about policies that will affect everybody in the Cayman Islands in a positive way. And you did that. You have convinced me that if you are running in alignment with McKeever, I don't want nothing to do with you. And you know, he thanked me for being so upfront and telling him what, you know. And I said, this may come back to haunt you if you go back on what you're telling me, that there's not no way in hell that you're going to be running with McKeever or anybody like McKeever, he said.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Tommy. Bye.
All right. Miss Brenda says, Marjorie, I don't agree with you. As a candidate, you should be displaying character even before you're elected. When bad behavior is ignored and they get elected, what do you expect in Parliament? Who's to blame for you for this? Only the voters. Well, I agree with that. Tony says, we love the truth, but if you're being paid in election season not to reveal dirt about some people, then listeners need to know. Give us transparency, show both CMR invoice and the scandal receipts. So I don't understand what that means, Tony, because nobody, if you go and look at my services, I'm happy to send it to you, my list of services, there's nothing on there, my packages, there's no package option to pay me to not release dirt. That doesn't exist, okay? You pay for things like ad space, access to the talk show, promoting your meetings, covering your meetings, live streaming your meetings. Those are the things that you pay for. There's no such option to pay someone not to release any dirt. So I don't even know what that means. And everybody in media is in that. If you go to, CNS right now, they have a takeover banner. Their entire website is red and white because Progressives is advertising with her. And they're also advertising with the Compass. These parties will have a choice of who they advertise, and they'll have different reasons for advertising. Listen, the only reason people are advertising with me, Tony, whoever you see advertising, is because they are trying to reach the most people. We got over 600 people listening to the show right now. I would challenge you to find any other show at any time of the day or night in the Cayman Islands that has over 600 people listening at 10 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't happen. So they are trying to get access to my audience. That's what you pay for. You pay for ad space, okay? Nobody can't pay for my loyalty. Nobody can't pay for the truth to be hidden. That's not how this works. All right? Go and have a look. We have the largest following on Facebook, I haven't looked at it lately, but I think it's 150 something thousand followers. Instagram probably has over 70,000. That's what people are paying for, that number of eyes that your post sees. Let me check. I haven't checked Facebook in a while. 152,000 followers. All right. Right now, over 233 people on Facebook alone. The rest are on Facebook, on YouTube and Instagram. All right. I can point to article insights. So for example, Aussie is part of the team that's advertising, right? And let me see how many people saw this post. Why isn't it showing me the insights for this one? Facebook is always changing things up. But I can normally go in and see the details. Well, I know that 5 people have shared it. It has over 34 likes, et cetera, et cetera. Let me close that and see. Right? So that's what they pay for. They pay for access to an audience. And you have to know, and they come in with perhaps certain expectations. And I try to manage their expectations, Tony, as much as I can. So in case they were living in a hole in a wall somewhere and they don't know anything about me and they don't know anything about how CMR works and they need that assistance, I'm happy to provide that to them. Let me show you a post. Now, this one was a little tongue in cheek, but gosh, y'all taking things so seriously these days. This was the one when Juliana was talking about prayers. And I told her, I said, honey, child, We praying for that black school to go away. Can we get that miracle answered? I'm just saying. But some of y'all are like, oh, why would you say that? That'll cause an earthquake. I was like, oh, y'all are so, take it easy. I know what causes earthquakes. Good grief. It was a little bit tongue in cheek, but I'm also serious. If I had one prayer right now that I wanted answered on behalf of the people, the good people of the Cayman Islands, it would be like, please, make her stop this black school wasting all kind of money. That post got over 25,000 views. All right, 91% from our followers, 9% from non-followers. This is what people pay for, okay? They can't pay nobody to hide no dirt. We're not in that business, not at all. And in fact, what you also don't know, and this is me now being honest. Sometimes there are things, I don't share everything I know because politically, I know things that may be coming down the pipeline, right? And people have entrusted me with that information. They've not yet released certain candidates. They're not made certain decisions yet. And I'm not here to disclose their business like that. That's a different situation. That they're responsible for their management, how they're going to handle their affairs in that regard. So sometimes I don't say stuff about those behind the scene things that are happening. Okay. I try to keep y'all as informed as I possibly can and as updated as I possibly can. But let me tell you how I also try to help the people of the Cayman Islands, Tony, in ways that you may not even be aware of. So somebody put a question to me this weekend, and they said that a particular candidate they heard was being, what's it called? Promoted, or they could potentially be running against one of their candidates. And they said, oh, I heard the TCCP is talking to this person. I said, really? That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. And, the TCCP doesn't tell me who they're running. That's not really my business. I might hear it through the grapevine otherwise, and I might be like, that's interesting. There might be other reasons why I'm interested in that, just a little sauce here and there. But again, if they're planning on announcing their candidate lineup, it's not really my business to get ahead of them and do that on their behalf, because sometimes it's a very active situation. They're still negotiating with people to talk with people. But this one was interesting. And I said, let me ask the question. And I actually reached out to Mr. Andre. He's leader of the party. And I said to him, someone asked me this question. I told them I'd do my best to find out. Obviously, TCCP doesn't have to answer my question. And so the question is so-and-so working with you guys? And they said, not exactly. Are you going to be running them in this constituency? They said, not exactly. Well, not exactly isn't quite an answer for me. In my head, I'm like, what does not exactly mean? So I said, that's interesting. But let me tell you some concerns that people have had in the community about this individual. And you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to run them, that's your business. But then CMR are going to come for your ass, okay? This is how it works, Tony. I need to pay attention. I said, right. Again, pull out the receipt, Tony Chow. I said, what's so interesting about this person is they have a long history of allegations of sexual harassment. As Ms. Brenda said, past behavior can often be a predictor of future behavior. And I don't know if anything has changed, if this person's gotten professional help for why they're always oogling over women in the workplace, but that has been a real problem to the point where women do not want to work with this man. That's a known fact. And I've known it way before they got involved in politics. They have an allegation of raping an underage girl, a 16-year-old or 15-year-old way back in the day. And then that was covered up and nothing was ever done about it. I'm just telling y'all what the streets have said for a long time. We got receipts for days. I said more recently, a mother has reached out to me. Let me tell y'all how the conversation went. Okay? This person said, let me pull up a message here. Y'all hold on now, because I don't want to mince my words. I want to get it straight. And the person said, this was last year. We had this conversation in October based on a comment that they made on social media. And I questioned them about it. I said, is this person any worse than McKeeva? Beats women, etc. They made a comment. They said, pedophile he was, and once a pedophile, always a pedophile, as far as I'm concerned. Breaks every labor law that he can and favors the rich and famous. I said, pedophile, question mark, details, question mark. Let's get to the point. They go on to say, years ago, propositioned one of my girls through a Rotary organized initiative. It was years before she told me about what he had done to her. Can't stand the bastard. I got an axe to grind with him. And she goes on to say other things. So I say to the leader of the TCCP, this is what is alleged, has been alleged for a very long time about this person. Now, another person who I know and I trust has come forward and shared that their own daughter was victimized by this person. You see now, if the TCCP decides to run him, which I believe they got a little bit more sense than that, but we'll see. If they decide to run him and to work with him, you think that anything will be buried, that he can get a pass? Y'all are crazy. Johnny Dope, morning, sir. He says it. Someone remind Irvin and Andrea what TCHT stands for. It stands for the cold, hard truth. I am not in the business. Let me be very, very clear here. Okay? We might gossip on occasion. And yes, we go there sometimes. But let me be very, very clear to anybody listening this morning. I am not in the business of misinformation. You don't become the #1 news site in the Cayman Islands if you can never get it right, or if you get it right even 50% of the times. We're not perfect. We're the first to admit we're in the 97th percentile. 3% of the time we getting something wrong. Okay? We will own that. There is no pride, even on this talk show, from getting things wrong, even as we talk about elected officials. Okay? So that's the first thing we have to be very, very honest about. If candidates are not prepared for the cold, hard truth, and some of them have pretty much said they're not, then this ain't the show for you. And there's nothing that, on the one hand, there's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. You know, you can go over Radio Cayman, they're not gonna press you hard. That's not their MO. All right. Bless his little heart, Mr. OC. You know, it's all about kumbaya and love. He don't put really tough questions to people because he's just trying to read the news from 50 years ago where we reminisce about Cayman of yesteryear. That's fine. Everybody has their own personality. They have their own style. I'm not knocking him for his stylistic differences. I'm just telling you, that is a walk in the park. Over Yeso, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Prime example, when Ralston came on the show, I need to go clip that section. We were asking Ralston the same question. Cameron, listen, because I think you missed that show. Right? When he came on here, people want to know, given your history with McKeeva Bush, tell us, the people now, where you stand. Tell us where you stand with alcohol. Because you've had a couple mishaps in the past, which CMR were the only ones to report about. Yeah? How do we know? Despite being the best minister, because I have not found anybody yet who has said that Ralston was not an excellent minister of education. Some people say he may have been the best that we ever had. And that says a lot, especially since what we had lately hasn't been performing none at all. But you can be the best at your job. But if your personal life is a hot mess, if you're aligning with the likes of people like McKeeva Bush, sexually harassing and beating up women, you will be tarnished by those things. And professionally, you will also be impacted by those things. That's why character matters. I've done a whole editorial on this. This is why when the PPM has come out with some of their new people, his name is Joshua Parsons. And then everybody coming to me about how he likes to put his hands on women. I said, oh, Jesus, come on, PPM. Y'all need to vet your candidates. You need to do a better job. You can't pretend that this is not something that this man has not had a history of doing. Character matters. And if you've had issues in the past and you've had character problems in the past, you need to come to the people of this country from a position of truth and honesty, admit to those character flaws, and say, I've gotten professional help. I've read a book at least on how not to beat women. Maybe that came from growing up in a household where I saw that and I didn't realize the impact that was having on my kids and my family. But now I'm redeemed, I'm reformed. Tell us something instead of sitting down pretending, oh, these are young people with a fresh face and with solutions for this country, and blackguarding us into believing nonsense. All I'm saying is come straight. So nobody gets a pass. Okay? We're going to hold them accountable. More importantly, they are paying for their time, so they can come on here and preach and say whatever. You guys are in the comment section holding them accountable. We take your calls. We read your messages. We ask your questions on behalf and let people know. That way they didn't want to be here. And not even so much about me. It's about what you guys can give them in terms of cold hard truth, because you got your receipts too. Natasha, she says, incumbents, are you listening? The people will decide if you're a good representative after hearing you speak on all social media platforms. Dodging certain media platforms makes us wonder if you can do the job. Say it again, honey child. Say it for those in the back of the classroom back there playing around and not paying attention. Right? Nobody gets paid to spill dirt or to hide dirt. That's not how it works. Siobhan says, if people are looking at, oh, you're being paid to spill dirt, they're looking in the wrong direction. And something is wrong with them as to why they're thinking I'm paying money instead of the real problems. What a hot mess. Tony says, let me put it a different way. Media houses may be biased in favor of who's paying them the most money for services. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I'd love to see you prove that there's no such bias. Wow, Tony. Which Tony Ebanks this is, by the way? You clearly don't pay attention, and I'm not trying to take any pot shots at you, but I really need you to pay attention here. This is and I'm going to say it again. This is a talk show. And I admit to being biased. I've never said that I wasn't. I have my own opinions. I'm a member of this community. Okay? I have my opinions, and I like some people over others for different reasons. But that ain't got nothing to do with the price of rice in China when it comes to accountability. In fact, I'm from the school of thought that if you like someone, you hold them accountable. You think the people that allow you to get away with your shit like you? You think the people who know that you're out there over drinking, doing drugs, having affairs on your wife, beating your kids, because they have a bias for you as their friend, you think those people are really your friend and they like you? You're kidding me, if that's what you believe. Someone who really likes you will hold you accountable. They're gonna put your foot to the fire. They're going to say, honey, child, you gotta do better. You are wrong. Don't say those things. Nobody is your friend if they're gonna he up in your face all the time And this is what happens to a lot of these politicians. They got people around them, friends of convenience. They look in money, they look in handouts, they look in lifestyle. Those people cannot be honest with you. You missed what I said yesterday about Chris Saunders as well, obviously. I said the first time Chris Saunders ran and he asked me for a vote, I told him no. Ask the man. I told him no, you cannot get a vote from me. Because I saw things at that time in his personality that I was concerned about. And as it turns out, despite giving him a chance a second time, my initial instinct was spot on. He not right for politics. Sorry, I still have remnants of congestion. He not right for politics. And I said it to him. He got vexed at me. He wouldn't talk to me for a couple of years. Then he comes slithering back. So let me be very clear. I'm not here to make friends. I got enough of them. I have an opinion, yes. I am the type of person naturally who tries to have my opinion based on facts. You don't pull opinions out of thin air. So even when you see me have an opinion about someone, I try to tell you why that is the case. And I think I have explained it sufficiently on at least 3 people who are sitting members: Chris Saunders, John, and McKeeva Bush. Anybody confused in the class still about why I feel the way I feel about those individuals? I have even told you to help you put things in context and to fully understand how this works. There have been times when Wayne Panton and I have not seen eye to eye politically at all. And I've called him to task on it, and I have called him out. That has happened. As a matter of fact, I don't even think his son likes me because of that. Because some people can't let it go and they can't see it really isn't personal. But like I said, I'm not looking for friends from nobody. There are people that I genuinely like, and I will still tell them to their faces, you're not cut out for political office. Oh, Sam, they want to run. No. Leave that for somebody else, please. That's not for you. That is not for you. That's for somebody else. And it ain't you. You can be a nice person. You can be, intelligent. You can have a lot of the character traits that we're looking for in elected officials and still not be right for the job. And that's why I tell you guys, be careful. You see people talking on talk shows, you're like, oh man, they sound good, they got a good solution. I'm like, pump the brakes. That does not mean they're going to make a good representative of the people. There are more important traits than being a good talker. They're hoodwinking you. Look deeper, scratch beyond the surface. That's why it's important. That's why I don't care what we talking about. Me running for political office is not likely to ever happen again. This job is what somebody needs to be doing. And gosh darn it, if I walk away, who the hell is going to do it? So me and you going to sit here together. We're going to have disagreements. Sometimes we might get up in our feelings a little bit. We might get vexed with each other, but we're going to be all right. Because at the end of the day, we bringing it and we bringing it good. It's as simple as that. Anyway, I don't know what more I can say. Ms. Brenda says, Sandra, we have a culture where you have elected hopefuls who hate hopefuls who hate you and chop you off at the knees because you're honest with them. And worse, when you call them out. This is par for the course. You should never put your name forward or even say that you intend to run for elected office and not realize that there will be some accountability to be had. People have a right to ask you questions about your decisions. They will put you to the test. And it comes down to character. So some of you have said, sadly, I didn't like what you said about Barbara. And I said, okay. And I said, let me be very clear now, right? The reason why I said the things that I said, which are true, is to demonstrate why she acts politically the way that she does. Because if she's been controlled by the male leadership of the party, in the party, she doesn't even have a voice of her own. And a large part of that has to do with the fact that she's had personal relationships with them that go beyond what should be. And, the more I thought about it, I said at some level, if it was any other organization, people would give her the benefit of the doubt and say, has she been sexually harassed, by these leaders? And maybe she couldn't not succumb to the pressure. I don't know. But these are really, really important things to discuss and to talk about. Because then you understand why she has been ineffective over the 8 years that she was in office as she was. So do I like talking about who's sleeping with who? Well, maybe sometimes. It gets interesting. But in the world of politics, just like somebody said, I showed you guys that video about that guy. He said he don't do business with people who he knows cheats on their significant others. Because if you can cheat on that person, I'm just a business partner, honey child. I'm not your wife. I'm not your husband. If you can cheat on that person that you can sleep with every single night, that you live with, that cooks you food or takes you out to dinner or you go on vacations with, if you can do that to them, what you not gonna do to me as a business partner? Morally bankrupt. Something to be said for that line of thinking. So now Tony wants to see my invoices. We are holding you accountable. Lord Jesus. Wow. Wants to see my invoices. Lord Jehovah. You want to see the bank account. Who is paying you? Tony, I could not make it any simpler. I'm trying to make this as easy for you as possible. Couldn't make it any simpler. I have said, and this is why I said it way before election. After this period in time, anybody that comes on the show is paid to play time. So if they're on here, they're paying. I've already told you who they are. You can't understand, Awa. You're looking for something that simply isn't there. I have told you, it is pay to play season. Use your common sense. I said if they're here now, they are paying. Simple as that. You not got see no receipt for that. I already told you what formula we're operating on right now. You see them on here, they're paying. There's no free rides during election cycle, honey child. There you go. Asked and answered. You're not gonna see a receipt for that. Gabby says, stop explaining yourself to fools. My God. You're just looking a little bit too hard, and it's starting to look a little bit desperate. Siobhan says, Tony, find the exit. You sound dumb. This talk show not for you, Bobo. I don't know what else to say. Erwin says, instead of hearing actionable solutions, we're hearing is personal attacks, private lives, soap opera. It's entertaining, but not healthy. This isn't about entertainment. I want you to pay attention, Erwin, because you need to go deeper. If someone is involved personally with multiple people in their party, and they're not able to stand on their own 2 feet as a result of that, because that impacts their decision making, right? How can they have any actionable solutions? What bills have they ever brought forward to the House? I'm only telling you the reason why they've been so ineffective. And you deserve to know. So you can categorize it as soap opera all you want. That ain't got nothing to do with the price of rice in China. Is it salacious? Someone sleeping with 3-4 members of the same party? Is that entertaining? Is that salacious? I'm sure it would meet those criteria as well. But it also demonstrates why perhaps you should be very cautious when you decide to elect certain people to public office, that they have a character of their own that will not be compromised because they have a personal relationship with someone else in the party. That's why you shouldn't do those things. You don't have personal relationships with people in your party. It's as simple as that. Because when you have to speak up and speak out, you can't do that if you sharing the sheets with them or having pillow talk or whatever. And it also undermines you within your own party because everybody in the party know what's going on. You think this is some state secret? It compromises you as an individual. It makes you look stupid in the eyes of the public. When you have a fairly public relationship with leaders in this country, and then they've got their wives that go to them to these official events, and then you get so up in your feelings that you go and do things like purchasing a boat that you have to name after the man's wife or situation or whatever. Come on. Come now. Marjorie says, I agree. I'm only saying that if a candidate says when they're campaigning is one thing, and yes, you don't vote them in, but when a candidate gets in and represents the country, one cannot say in Parliament what they feel like saying when they lose their temper. That's what I said. There's a difference between being a candidate and being a representative. Your point is well taken and agreed. So I approve of what Sandy is doing right now, that we know the candidates before they get in. Thank you, Marjorie. And, ultimately, you will have to decide for yourself how important these things are. Do you care? Maybe some of y'all don't care. You don't care that he tried to throw, the civil service under the bus. You don't care that he sexually harassed civil servants. You don't care that because of Chris Saunders, a single Caymanian mother who's dedicated over 30 years of service to the civil service has essentially lost her job, that she is the only person in the Cayman Islands that is properly trained for. Maybe you don't care about any of those things. And come April the 30th, you will still go and cast your vote for this man. That is your constitutionally protected right. You can do that. You cannot care. You can enjoy those fruitcakes so much that you will vote for him no matter what. My position is very, very clear. Okay? And I make it as clear as possible. At the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm here to give you information. You dissect it and you accept it or don't accept it. You shoot the messenger or not shoot the messenger. And we try to make this steer this good boat Cayman back in a positive direction. The thing is, even as I was talking about this individual earlier that was in talks with the TCM, this person guessed exactly who they were. They say, you beat me to it. Thank goodness. It is, to me, surprising and appalling all at once when people actually, so many people know information about people in this community. But unfortunately, I know you guys don't have this platform, obviously, but even when you do, there's so much hush-hush that is happening around people, especially men, that have abusive tendencies and that have, sexually abused women and children for years. I'm always shocked that this is one thing that as a community, we are so far behind. So this person, as I'm describing it, I've left out a lot of details. So some of you might still be like, who the heck is that? But there are people, the second I say it, they know exactly who I'm talking about. Because I'm not telling y'all nothing new. There's not no state secret. These people have reputations that has followed them. There's not no mistake when he was 15 years old, 20 years old, big men up in their 60s, still doing the same thing. And even the young girls, oh yeah, you want to stay away from him. Don't go and work in any company where he's the manager. Because girl, he gonna be harassing you and this, that, and the next thing. Our people know that it's very hush, hush. They're not talking it. What I can tell you on the cold hard truth, those days are gone. It is time that we stand up tall, straighten up, put that back straight, honey child, pull up your bra strap. Yes, we're gonna pull it up on this side. I have scoliosis, so this side always falls down. Pull it up, stand up straight, be held accountable, and hold our elected members to be held accountable as well. As simple as that. You stand up in the good house of Parliament and you threaten people. I don't understand how that is something that anybody can walk away from thinking that this is good. Erwin says, do me one favor, please. I don't come on here often. That's the problem. You should come on more often. For one solid day, give Kiamana Barrage a positive politics. You're confused. Or solution-driven policy to talk about. Here's what I'm going to suggest, Erwin. Number one, you should show up more often. That would be good because you'd have a better understanding of what we do here on the Cold Hard Truth. And number two, you have an amazing opportunity to go back and see days that that's all we focus on is policy discussions. Friday was a great show. CPR was on here. The opposing side got to call in. They gave their opinion on the whole port situation. Go back and watch Friday's show. Last week, Wednesday, we spent the entire segment going through the characteristics that we're looking for in our elected members. Go watch that. That was a wonderful and meaning exercise. This show is different almost every day, and we do a lot of different things. So go and have a look. You can't show up here every once in a while and you catch us on one day talking about this and you think you know everything about the cold hard truth. No, honey child. Natasha, final word of the day, because we got to get to work. We got bills to pay. Says set your bar and expectations higher for someone who holds your future and your family's future in their hands. If I had 1,000 kaboom buttons, I would be giving it to you, Natasha. She says, why is there so many who are happy to accept and make do with representatives who are basic and mediocre? Constructive criticism is a gift. Y'all hear this thing called the basic bitch? It's like a whole thing now. I think there's even a book about how to, I don't know, comb your hair like a basic bitch or whatever. I'm not a basic bitch. It's a whole thing, a whole movement. Yeah? We need to stop electing basic politicians. It's Erwin, it's election season now. So this is par for the course. Stop electing basic politicians. I'm just saying. All right? Elevate. Elevate. All right. I got my receipts, and yes, these are my receipts that I gave Customs the last time I traveled, honey child, so I could pay my duty. I said, look at this one from Ross. Look at all these amazing items I got. 38 items, and I only spent $600, $592.82. And then the tax, because you know they're going to catch you in the tax. But look at that. I got so many cute little outfits and stuff, honey child. Some kind of pink enzyme wash. What was that? Face wash? I don't know. Gigi got a plush robe. Oh, she's all into that robe now. She's walking around wearing it. She had it on last night. Pink wide leg, that probably pants or something. Geo strap, maybe that was a top. I don't know. You can't really tell what half these things are anymore, but mostly clothing. Yep. Got me some good deals. $5.99, $7.99. 2-pack pink Snoopy, something that was for her. $7.99. They got some good sales, honey child. Yes, good pricing. Oh my gosh. Good deals. All that. All that. Good, very good deal. I gotta save this one. I want to pull out a receipt to talk about talking about receipts. Anyway, paid my little customs duty, honey child. Went to Target because she loves Target. I only go to Target for her because I'm not really that into Target, but she wanted to go there and look around. She swears that they have better gifts, better toys than Walmart. I'm like, no, they don't. But she likes to go, so I'll let her go. Got my new pair of pickleball shoes. By the way, let me update you on my leg situation. Big shout out to K-Man Physio. Can I say thank you to them? When you're in pain, honey child, anybody that can tell you, what's causing your pain and how you can deal with it, I am just so elated. So yesterday I was in a lot of pain the day before, Sunday, and I called K-Man Physio. They squeezed me in for an appointment. That's where I ran right after the show. And it looks like I have somehow, what do you call it? Pull a muscle in my calf, but it's like behind the knee, not further down the calf muscle, because the calf muscle runs, I guess, the length of that leg, right? So he, the therapist, what's his name again? Anyway, he worked on it for me and kind of went in there and did some pressure points and stuff. Andy, big shout out to Andy from K-Man Physio. And I can tell you that right away I walked out of there feeling so much better. And he said to me, you got to take a week off now. So no pickleball for a week. And you got to take it easy. Now, my left side is my weak side for sure. I got a compromised knee in that side. All kind of stuff be happening over there. So I'm going to do some gentle stretching. I'm going to pull out the massage gun. He said, don't target the area where it hurts, which is the upper quadrant of the calf muscle. He said, go all the way down the leg. And, as he was saying that, it made so much sense to me because this isn't, although this weekend I went hard on Sunday on the pickleball court, which is what ultimately did it. But I know it was already compromised because when I was in Miami the other day, me and I keep telling y'all about me and my massage people in the mall. Marlon keeps saying, don't go in there. You're going to waste your money. Well, anyway, I went to one of them and he was working on my leg and I could feel the lower part of the calf muscle going into the ankle was really, really sore. So much so that when I came back, I booked a massage because I was like, oh man, this was only a 15-minute massage, but I could feel where I needed somebody to go in there and work on it. So, everything is interconnected in your body, honey child. So that soreness was already an indication that something was going on. And I should have been massaging it more and stretching it and other stuff, warming it up. And I came back and I was like, oh man, I haven't been on the court in a while. I kind of went hard. And so this is a price now I pay. I've got a torn muscle and a part of that area for the calf muscle. So rest, he said, is the best thing. He said, don't go back in too soon and try to overdo it. If you need to take a little Tylenol or whatever, you can do that. But the most important thing is to rest, gentle, partial stretching. Don't stretch it too much because then you're going to tear it even more. And that will cause longer term problems. So gentle, like 25, 30% stretch, and then like a couple leg lifts during the day that kind of work a little bit. But I feel so much better today. I'm walking better and I really do feel better. So I'm going to get the massage gun, the small one. I have two, I have a big one, a small one. So I'll use the small one on that area. And I'm going to go back and see the physiotherapist later in the week. And we're going to see kind of how we're getting on. So yeah, thank you to all the amazing medical professionals that are out there, whether you're in physiotherapy, general medicine or whatever. Every day you guys really help people do things to alleviate pain, to strengthen their bodies. He's given me some suggestions and things. And I really, really appreciate what they do. The acupuncturist, I haven't been to him in a minute, but I need to make an appointment soon and go and check check him out as well. So I'm feeling so much better. Because that was some serious pain, man. I can hardly walk on that side. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. All right. Thank you to Ms. Brenda, Ms. Jean, all of you. Still over 450 people tuned in. Thank you guys very, very much for your continued. Listen, like I said, we're in this together, right? And Miss Margie says, thank you for helping us to know who is running. So, we're in that season now. This is February, March, and April. We only have a couple months. So we have to work in these discussions. Tomorrow, TCCP is coming on the show. Call in with your questions. Thursday, I'm not sure yet. Unfortunately, the hazard management people, we wanted to talk about the tsunami, but they could only make it tomorrow. And then, these other people had it booked. So I don't know if they're going to be able to come on, but we do want to hear from them at some stage as well. Okay. And that's what I've got for you. Now it's time to get to work. I've got some equipment that I need to unpack, and I've got mother's duties. So I'm supposed to review Gigi's homework. This is her unit 5, where she gets individual profile of progress. So this is how she's developing her different skills and stuff like that. So she got her little homework. Look how she writes her name, Gigi Hill. Obviously her full name is Gianna, but yeah, this is all her little homework that she's, she does it during school, and then they send it home so we can look it over and we can see how she's performing. Maybe, boy, these are some, she's only 8, but these are some sentences. The temperature was 60 degrees in the afternoon. It was 40 degrees in the evening. How much did the temperature change? So they show her, you're changing from starting from there to there. That's minus. She looked like she got that one wrong. She added it together instead of subtracted it. So we got to work on that. You got to understand problem questions and the questions being answered. Wade put 7 blueberries on his cereal. Then he added 9 more. She got that one right. How many does he have now? So she did 7 plus 9 equals. And then look how she writes her little 6s. Not too bad. Can y'all see? Look at her little 6. She wrote the answer. Yeah. She wrote it in there. Anyway, her education is extremely important to both her father and I. That's a top priority. And, I'm trying to encourage her. She's very artistic. She loves to draw and color, and she has an artistic flair, even with fashion. But I don't care whether she's I do care. I love that she's artistic, but she's got to know how to read and write and, improve in her writing and that sort of thing. She's also a lefty. So sometimes the writing's a little bit messy, but she's still young, so she'll get there. So anyway, I gotta grade this and send that back for feedback and stuff as well. I've got to print out some stuff for her. By the way, let's have a day as parents where I give you guys some suggestions on. There's a lot of free websites, like free materials. Let me just show you one quick second. Hold on, where you can get materials to help kids. When they're home, you can actually go to websites for free and print off all sorts of materials. I did some work with her this weekend. I want to share these resources with you because, I also buy books and other stuff. Flashcards. Look at the flashcards. So I just got her these. They come at addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then you just play games with her or whoever your kids are. And, this one isn't open yet. We're doing addition and subtraction. So I haven't opened these. And then I pull it out and I make her look at it. 8 plus 2 is what? And this is what we do. And then on the other side, it has, other ones. These are single digit ones. So we haven't gotten to double digits yet for her. And, we play all sorts of games and stuff, and she can get little rewards for getting things right. So we have her flashcards. So we do a lot around here outside of school. And I try to make it fun so she doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm in school all the time. But there are a lot of resources. Some parents might not be able to afford these materials. There are lots of resources that are available for you. First of all, Amazon has these things like really cheap. They're not that expensive to purchase, but there are also websites that are completely free where you can get tons of material for different age groups. and you select the age, and then you can say, do you want to do writing practice, geography, whatever. And she was doing double-digit addition and subtracting. And then she was doing missing numbers, where they just go through and fill in the blanks up to 100. You can do them higher numbers. I made her do, 1 minute math addition. So how many you can solve in a minute? And these are all single digit. So you can actually time your kids with some of this stuff. I didn't really time her. I just let her go through it. So here's one that she actually got wrong. So of course you got to check them. And so I'm going to talk to her about why she thought 8 plus 8 was 17. So we're going to circle that one. So I'm going to go through and check these and stuff as well. And then they'll give you the answer sheets, I think. But I mean, this is simple addition, right? So she did these, solve the addition problems. So it's like the numbers and then displaying it with, things that represent 3 balls, pencils, whatever. And she got all those right. Pineapple math. So again, this is double-digit addition and stuff as well. So let's spend some time talking about some of these amazing resources. There are a lot of them that you as parents have to know where they are. They're available on the internet. You just print them off and you can give your kids things to do during the holiday breaks, weekends, evenings. Keep the little brain moving as much as you possibly can. Keep them off of those gadgets. She did get a Kindle the other day, and so she loves reading on it. And so that's another way that we're encouraging her to read. But of course, especially for younger kids, the best way for them to read is for them to have a physical book. So at her school, every week, they have library day. They go to library on Monday, and she gets to check out books. And she bought one home yesterday about Valentine. It was really cute. She read me the whole book. I checked it to make sure she wasn't missing any words, and she got it right. And then she got another book about, oh gosh, I can't remember what that one was, but she hasn't read that one yet. But yeah, encourage your children to have a love of reading, especially comprehension is so critically important. And math as well. I'm not the strongest math person. Like when I got to trigonometry, I'm like, I'm done. I don't need anything past, algebra really. I'm not doing trigonometry and all this advanced math because I knew that my personality type and my interests, I wasn't going into the sciences or anything. But it's not even that. It is good for logic. Like math teaches you equations. They teach you logic and other things as well. So encourage your children to, read, to get interested in math and the sciences and nature. She was the one who was telling me about the grouper moon. I didn't know anything about the grouper moon. We were having a conversation. She's like, Mom, next week is a grouper moon. I'm like, well, what's the grouper moon? And she told me all about it and why it's important to protect the groupers and how that, helps the ecosystem. There's one word that she kind of got one word wrong, but then when I corrected her, instead of saying extinct, she's like, they're instinct. And I said, no, I think you meant they might go extinct. She's like, oh, yeah. So, she's learning a lot. And, I want all of our children to have the best possible opportunities in life, because this is how you prepare future Caymanians, right? To take up their role in our community, whatever that role is going to be. They might be teachers. They might be plumbers, electricians. They need to know math. Trust me. That's why y'all houses be crooked and windows leaking, because they don't know what they're doing. So, encourage our young people to prioritize education, because that is the equalizer in life. That's the game changer. I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that if I did not have educational opportunities myself, had I stayed in Cayman, I would have just been another statistic on NAU, teenage pregnancy, all them kind of things. That probably would have been my life story. But because I was taken out of this environment and I was put in an environment where education was prioritized, and in my school, I saw people excelling. And it was almost like a competitive environment. Like we were trying to outdo each other. Oh, well, you got an 85. I want to try to get the 90. Everybody wanted to try to be valedictorian. Like I was in that group. I was in the group of kids who were wasting time and fighting with each other and all that kind of foolishness. No, I was focused. Like we got places to go and things to do in life. And the way that we open up those opportunities for ourselves is to educate yourself. Nobody can take that away from you. They can take everything else. They're very closed on your back. But once you have it up here, believe me, nobody can touch that. Marshall says, nice, Gigi. I'm a lefty too. Roar Kiman says, lefty here too. Very smart people. Soka's taking me to task. Says, excuse you. Being left-handed has zero to do with bad handwriting. I know. She's just young, but she reverses certain letters because she's a lefty. You know, like B's, and maybe all kids do that. I don't know. 6 and B and D and stuff. Sometimes they get all reversed and stuff. All right, Miss Hope, Faith and Hope says there's an app that gives a reward after solving the math. Very good. My children love it. Share it on the day that we get there. Mary Jean. Oh, thank you, Adrian. She has been charged, I think, or arrested. So let me see if I can get an update on that. And we'll do an update one day soon. Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right, folks. That's all I got for you right now. We'll get to you with more things on tomorrow's program. So yes, Adrian, we try to hold everybody accountable, even, you know, our, whatchamacallit, Filipino friends. We hold them accountable too. Scott said it was nice until you hand smudged it. # lefty life. And we don't really know where how do people become a lefty? You think it's a genetic thing? Because I'm obviously not a lefty. Her dad's not a lefty. And we can't really think of anybody. Oh, I think he had an uncle who's a lefty though. What % of the population are lefties? Anyway, but sometimes she seems to be ambidextrous. And I noticed that when she was a baby, she would switch like both hands, but she had a preference definitely for her left hand. And then like if she tries to play pickleball, she does it with her right hand. So maybe certain activities she'll still use her right hand for. I don't know. But anyway, yes, all of us rock. Lefties, righties, you guys are right. Beautiful people all the same. All right. Oh my God. Y'all have a good day. Just saw some horrible news come out of, I think that's the UK. Y'all have a good day, and we will be back hopefully tomorrow morning. Until then, please have an amazing day, and be safe on the roadways and take care of yourselves. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.